Hey!
Right, here we go. I'm going to do an intro.
Are we actually going to do an intro, or am I just going to start it about 10 seconds ago? Is that just the way that we're going to go?
Yeah, we'll keep, let's just. No, I've got a proper full-on intro here. So, should we make a start? I've written one out.
I thought you were going to say the proper full on something else.
I've written one out. Here we go. Right, gentlemen, getting ready from 3, 2, 1. We're live on air. So, hello everybody, and greetings to all our wonderful listeners, to all the wonderful people out there who haven't discovered us yet but really need to, and to everyone else who understands the principle that you shouldn't put pineapple on pizza. Welcome to the Distinct and Jovial podcast. I'm joined by my amazing co-founder, Dom. How are you doing, Dom?
Hello, everybody.
That sounded, you sound
I'm just
worried.
going to leave it at that.
That sounded very worried, though. No need to be worried.
Well, I'm not in control.
You're not.
I'm completely...
You're out of your comfort zone, clearly.
Test onto what you're doing.
You are out of your comfort zone.
I'm always out of my comfort zone. I'm not awake. I'm awake, right? And I'm out of my comfort zone.
Okay, well, that's true.
I'm not in bed.
Fair enough. You could do this lying down if you want. I'll give you 5 minutes and go and get ready.
I'm not sure you could. I think you'd probably... there must be something on the diaphragm and stuff that
It would put
prevents...
pressure on the diaphragm. You wouldn't sound the same.
It's like that old trick, isn't it? That when you phone in sick, you have to hold your head off the end of the bed so that your head's kind of upside down, so it makes it sound like you're really nasally. Unfortunately, never had to do that.
Sounds like you've done some research into this, though.
Maybe more when I became a line manager.
Maybe.
What do I need to look out for?
Yeah.
Are you hanging your head up on the side of the bed?
The first time I looked at that was when I became a line manager. Much stroking of the chin. And today, Dom and I are joined for a second time, I might add, by a special guest who requires an intro. He does. He requires an intro. So, Steve, you're not allowed to speak yet.
I am the specialist of guests.
You are.
I am the specialist of
You
guests.
get your own intro.
Yeah, I am.
So, here we go.
I'm so special that I had to go to special school. That's not quite right.
Let me do my
morning.
intro.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me on your
Let me do my
lovely
intro.
podcast.
Let me do my intro. Let me do my intro. We got an
Let me
out
do your
of
intro.
control
Oh,
guest.
I thought I had to do the intro.
No, I'm doing an intro. I'm introducing you.
Oh, man.
That's how special you are.
I had it prepared.
Well, I've got
No,
one
I didn't.
prepared, so it's too late and I'm in control. Right.
I mean,
So,
I never have anything prepared ever.
no, I know you don't. I was going to say that. I was quite surprised at that. Right. He is many things to many people. A philanthropist, a trailblazer, praised as the greatest humorist of the 21st century. In 2019, he received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. A mathematician who has made fundamental contributions to real algebraic geometry, differential geometry, and partial differential equations. His singing voice once made 100 angels from heaven weep. And in 2022, his beard was coveted by Esquire magazine as the most influential of this generation. It is none other than Chat Stevie T.
What an intro!
Yay! That is. Thank you for that intro. Thank you for that intro. Thank you. I would like to point out my singing voice makes everyone weep. Or
Not
cry.
just angels.
Yeah, no. It is the kind of voice that's quite distinctive. It's usually, makes people say, "Could you please stop?"
Can you please stop because I'm crying now? Because can you just pick up the
I'm
signals
crying
here?
now. This is so.
These are not
bad.
tears of
This
joy.
is so bad. No.
So,
They come from that very peculiar kind of pain that you get right in the middle between your ears.
Is that
from
not the
hearing
brain?
you singing. Yeah.
I mean, mine's a bit hollow, but
somewhere in there, it's hurting.
Somewhere in there, it's a lot of pain.
similar to if
I
when
think it's a
you're on a plane.
resonance. I think it's like a resonance.
It's the frequencies. Is that what it is?
Mm,
The frequencies. The frequencies.
yeah, my singing is kind of the brown note.
However, you do a very good impression.
Of what?
The impressions. Sorry.
I can barely do an impression of myself.
Oh, I don't know. Your scene from John Wick was pretty
Oh, was that you like that? Yeah.
Yeah, I do like that. I did like
It's
that.
familiar.
That was very
quite
well
good.
done.
I did put a lot of effort into it, though.
You did.
It is an example of what can happen if you put effort in.
You did practice it.
That one time,
think you-
that one time that I put effort.
No,
in.
one time. We did it more
One
than once.
time I put effort. In.
No, we did it more than once.
We did do
I
it
think
more
we
than
did that
once.
scene about 3 or 4 times in the quiz.
Yeah.
For all of you listeners who don't know, may not know what we're referring to, so we did the Winchester quiz. I think most listeners do know what we're talking about, but for those of you who don't, so Steve and I used to host the Winchester quiz when COVID kicked in, and we did that weekly.
115 episodes.
Yes. Yeah, 115 quizzes. Insane. Right.
I'm not envious. I did one.
Yeah, but then you went full
I
Leroy,
did.
didn't you, with your one?
Oh, I did. Yeah. I mean, I was like, I'm only ever going to do this once, so I am absolutely going to
Go
go
for
full
it.
Leroy Jenkins on it. Right? There's no other way, is there? Right? It's either there's no effort at all or full Leroy.
Yeah, and you went full
Yeah.
Leroy.
full Leroy.
And fair play to you, Dom.
Yeah.
It was a good quiz.
It
I
was. a
think
good quiz.
probably I'd say.
I hope it was a good.
No, I think it was the best quiz. I would argue probably the best quiz. It was the most professional.
No, I don't want to give myself that compliment because I think the scores were a bit. I didn't quite get the scores right, and I didn't quite get the game explaining right. Oh, I'm doing my normal thing, right? I'm doing. the
Dom,
normal
just
thing. I'm
take
like,
it.
oh, but if I did this, just take the
accept it.
compliment. Okay. I just accept.
You
it.
don't need to praise yourself. I'm praising you.
If we ever win an award for our podcast and we have to go up and do an acceptance speech, right? You're going to have to do it because I won't be able
Yeah, I'm
to
just
do
gonna-
any kind of
I'm
acceptance.
reading this on behalf
because I
of
don't
Dom.
accept.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah. Dom will walk on stage and he'll go, "This is very unfair. I actually suck, but thank you."
Yeah, exactly.
I really do not feel comfortable accepting this award. So I'm going to now
Yeah, I don't
hand
feel
it to
comfortable
somebody
accepting
else.
this award. Yeah. I'm going to give it to starving children.
Right. We said we were going to be humorous, not serious now, Steve. Right, here we go.
was humorous. Damn it.
No, we're not talking about starvation or death or anything like that. Here we go. So today is Sunday, the 18th of August, 2024 AD. This is episode 39. Is that right? Yes, and I just...
It is episode 39. I did double check
Yeah,
that.
that's good to know. We don't have to recalculate. And just,
I will double check again
please, if you could,
while I'm here.
if you could. And just want to remind listeners that all views expressed on this podcast are purely our own and do not represent in any way, shape, or form the views of anyone else or the companies we work for or any other organisations for that matter. Amen.
Except for the Royal Mail, because it's clearly obvious that they're completely useless.
Please tell me you haven't got another Royal Mail story.
No, I haven't got another Royal Mail story.
Okay.
But,
Yeah.
but I just wanted to put that out there.
So,
Yes, this is episode
it
39.
is 39. Okay, nice.
I just
I
checked.
liked it. I like it.
I mean, it is clear though that you don't work for the Royal Mail.
I don't work for the Royal Mail.
No.
Well, if I did, they would be better. Hashtag just saying.
It could be a position for you there, Dom. It could be you're doing your own recruitment drive for yourself.
I mean, based on
Yeah.
based on where we work and what we do, it's kind of like I'm sure a lot of companies are set up very similar in similar departments. So you never know, but it's whether they offshore it, whether they have an internal, whether they farm out to a third party. Don't know.
Who knows?
It's always quite interesting.
They need your skills, Dom.
Interesting.
You know, you have tasted the worst customer experiences
I
of.
thought you were going to say you've tasted the rainbow.
You've tasted the rainbow. You, you've tasted the shit sandwich of their service. That taste is still lingering in your mouth,
Mm.
and I think you can help. You can help them by providing better fillings. Right. So
Yeah, like any filling, coronation chicken.
Coronation chicken. We're going to start actually a bit serious. So we've got topical
what?
events. Yeah, well, health
don't wanna-
updates on. Look, we'll start serious, Steve.
Oh, we're doing health
Yeah, we'll
updates.
do health updates, and then we're going to
Yeah.
move on to the funny stuff.
Yeah, I thought it'd be nice to just get a bit of a kind of a little bit thoughts on the health. And this is one that I actually put into the document for this one because what's very interesting is lots has happened this year in terms of health and
Truth,
wealth and and Steve trying to close a door. 2 doors.
No, there's 2 doors, Steve.
We can cut that out, right? We can edit it down.
We might be able to cut it
We
out.
don't need to cut that
Yeah,
out. That's
Let me
fine.
just mark
Do I
the
need
clip
to blur below the belly button? Is that the...
No, I have shorts on.
They're very short shorts. I'm sure you popped out there, Steve, as you reached across.
You assume that I have enough to pop out.
Oh, wow. Then if you didn't pop out,
It's
that
not
was obviously
innie.
a ferret saying hello.
If it's a ferret, it's not mine.
going? I hate my life.
This is a bald ferret.
No, it's quite a hairy ferret from what I saw. And he waved.
Not me. Hell no, not me.
And he had small hands. Yeah, okay. Steve, what are you trying
No,
to say? That
definitely
you're
not me.
just completely bald down there? Obviously, you have a grooming regimen.
each to their own.
How many people listening to this know me? I mean, there are some details I quite like to keep. Private.
each to their own.
But you
Each to
can
their
use your own
own.
imagination if you like.
I didn't
But
need to when you reached
In
the door.
regards to this,
Sorry, Dom. Dom's just dying here. Talking of health updates, Dom.
So, how's your health, Dom?
Don't collapse on us
I
now.
don't know yet.
How is your health there, Dom?
my health is apparently great. I don't know what it is. I've got like I've done a lot of talking the last last week. Too many meetings, not enough actual work. But this is more a little bit around. So for you, Steve, I know that you are in a process of trying to improve your health. I think is probably the general bits and pieces. And I actually took a little bit of inspiration. I was like, I think my hip's now recovered enough. It has, which is nice. And I also need to do the same because I am, took a photo of me in just my underwear and went, I don't like the look of that. I need to go and transform. I'd like to transform my body back to where it was when I was a taekwondo athlete. So yeah, just an interesting kind of take on the health journey, little bits around that, especially as, I mean, I have a slight advantage in that I'm 20 years younger than both of you. So in theory, it should be easier for me.
He played the age card. Honestly.
Play the
played
No,
the
it's
age
giving
card.
you more credit. He's giving you more credit.
that youth of today.
Honestly,
that
what are we
youth
going to
of
do with him,
today,
mate?
So health card, yeah. Jerry, would you like to go over your health first?
Yeah, I'm still eating chocolate and cake. There you go. That's my health update.
That's worthy.
Thank you.
That's worthy. That's worthy. Yeah, my health update. So the whole story, I guess. So I was getting some chest pains a couple months ago, and I thought it was muscular, so I went down. But you want to tick the little heart thing off. Make sure it's not the actual little ticker that's about to explode. So I went down to the doctor, and they poked and prodded and stuck machines on me and said to me, can I go to the hospital for more tests because they think that I might have had a small heart attack? And I was like, I'm sorry. What? So I went to the hospital. They did more blood tests, x-rays, all sorts of nonsense. Discovered that basically it looked like my body had kind of fired a warning shot. So I do still need to lose a lot of weight. I'm in the process of doing it, and it's going slowly because, as you mentioned, Dom, you're 20 years younger than me, and I'm not in the prime of my life, and weight doesn't just flop off, although that would be quite nice. So I've got a rowing machine, which is building up muscle, a lot of muscle being built, weight's coming off, fat's coming off. Yeah, I don't drink during the week. And yeah, I feel much better for it. So the actual drinking side might just disappear altogether because it's one of those things. I think when you drink like every day and you wake up in the morning, you're kind of used to the way that you feel, right? And then if you don't drink and you wake up in the morning and you feel like this is great, It doesn't matter if it's raining outside. It feels like the sun's come up and your body's full of energy, and you think, "This is fantastic." And then you have a drink, and you wake up the next morning, and you feel like you've been kicked in the face. It's just that you don't appreciate that you can feel better. So, yeah, it's the one thing I was worried about was being able to sleep. You know, you have a couple of drinks to get some sleep, but the problem is then you wake up 4 times during the night to release the byproduct.
And alcohol actually, ironically, prevents you from going into that deep REM sleep, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So it prevents that. So actually, it prevents you from having a decent night's kip. So when they talk about, so I've never understood when they say, "Oh, you know, have a brandy or something, have a nightcap." I don't know what that means. A nightcap.
It just gets you to sleep. It just gets you to sleep.
It doesn't get you to where you need to.
If you're struggling to sleep, it basically it's that initial brain shutdown that allows you to sleep.
Yeah. Well, can I just say, first of all, thank goodness that you're okay, because that was a bit of a scare. Because I remember speaking to you. Was it on the day or the day after? Like, I didn't hear from you. I dropped you a message and I didn't hear from you. And then you gave me like, this full update. And it's like, what the hell, Steve? What? You just you just went off grid for like 24 hours and didn't know what had happened. So
no. The best message was the one I sent to my wife. I said, at the hospital, they think I've had a heart attack. Probably not. Lol. See you later.
It's the lol bit, I think, that makes everything okay. It just kind of cancels everything else out, doesn't it? Like all the seriousness. Yeah. Well.
Yeah. I had to let people at work know, so I sent a text message to one of them and said, I just need to go to the hospital to go and have a test done on my heart. Shouldn't be long. So
lol.
I get a message back going, "Oh my God, are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I feel fine, you know. I'm still this side of the grass, so yeah, I think that I'm okay." But yeah, It was a weird experience, very strange experience, very strange, very ultra kind of, you know, you never sort of think about your own mortality until somebody says to you,
"You might die."
A heart attack. I haven't, so that's cool.
Okay, well, thank God you are okay.
I'm never dying.
No.
I'm immortal. Sorry.
In fact, what you need to do is you need to keep drinking more alcohol, actually, because that will pickle your insides, and then you really will be immortal. So actually, ironically, you need to kind of do like the immersion therapy. You just need to keep drinking like, loads more, pickle your insides. That way you'll live forever. Look, it's just a suggestion. I'm no doctor. Just saying, it's worth a try. I don't know.
We know we put that additional warning. We put that additional warning about all of our opinions don't represent the company. We should also say none of us are doctors and can give medical advice. And out of the three of us, I think Jerry's the least qualified.
I think listeners, don't listen to what I'm saying. Do not take that advice. Drinking loads of alcohol does not pickle your insides and make you live forever. Hashtag just saying. Hashtag don't listen to my medical advice.
Yeah. As a former medical professional, don't do what Jerry just said.
So, Steve,
because you were a paramedic in the...
Yeah, that's right.
So, yeah, actually, Steve can give small amounts of advice.
Small amounts of advice. My advice is only relevant if it's still 1995. Because medicine's moved on a bit since then. So that was when I was still doing that.
Well, the human body hasn't changed that much since 1995, generally.
Mine has got older and fatter.
So it's mine.
Yeah, but you haven't suddenly grown a third nipple or anything like that. So,
how do you know?
Do you know, both his Steve's on the same thing? How do you know?
I don't know. Maybe you have.
How do you know he didn't have 3 nipples in 1995 and he's now actually only got 2 because he had it surgically removed?
Or a fourth.
It just fell off.
Right. Anyway, I've got small hands.
So, see, this is the thing, right? Nipples are not like belly buttons because you don't necessarily have them all.
That's very true. That is very, very true. So Steve, thank goodness you're okay. I think the moral of the story is at least you got yourself checked out.
Of the story. Yeah.
And
don't be afraid to get checked out.
Yeah, and also glad that you're on your health journey. So you need to keep us updated. We will have you back on the podcast again. You will have another intro.
If I'm still alive, I'll definitely be on it.
Wow.
Steve's got to run a podcast for us. That's going to be the next
step. Yeah. I've got to do that. I've got a thing that I'm planning. Where is it? It's in a drawer somewhere. Yeah, I took inspiration from the amazing legend who is Hoops.
Hoops.
Oh, hoops.
Who,
Hoops.
yeah, I've taken some inspiration from his exceptional effort.
It was.
Which, I did enjoy immensely.
Yes.
I've got to say, I thought that was extremely.
Thank you again, Hoops.
I enjoyed immensely, other than the fact that I got completely cheated out of the quiz.
I don't think that's
You got
strictly
cheated out of
true. He only gave me like a little smidge of help, just a smidge.
Yes, it was
Just a smidge.
like in the We're the Millers, smidge of
A
weed,
smidge of-
smidge,
I remember that film.
smidge.
So, Dom, your health
You got
journey.
that size smidge.
Your health journey. Tell me,
How's
have
it?
you got anything?
How's the hip?
Yeah.
I mean, the hip's great. It's funny. We were doing. Somebody came up to me and said, "How is your kicking on your right hip now?" And I said, "I should have had it done years ago. This is the best I've kicked off this right leg now. Now that
Nice.
I've gone through kind of the dip, right? So it was like surgery, slowly recover, then it dipped again. I was like, oh, this sucks, and then it came back up, and now I'm back up here.
Excellent.
So the hip is doing all right, making good progress. After I took that progress, I say video because I took a small video of me kind of turning left and right, and I went, holy shit, I have got a lot of unwanted body mass in different places. You know, while I'm not strictly overweight, the body when you used to have like an 8% body constitution and it's not quite 8% anymore, it feels very different. But also
I have no idea.
and I
what
did
that
really
feels like.
I used to train like an athlete. I used to train 2 times a day. I can't do
I know
that
what
anymore. The
38
body break.
I know what 38 feels like, but 8. Maybe I'll
I
get
used
there.
to be very fit. I did used to be very fit. Or just very, very skinny. I used to be, I used to fight minus 63 kilos at 6'3". So what's that? I've got to kind of do the other metrics. 63 kilos is, let me put that in.
You're 63 kilos at 6'3".
Yeah, so I was 9
So-
stone.
So basically, what you're saying is that you were so thin that if you put your arms above your head, you'd fall through your own arsehole.
Pretty much. We've already had that discussion about my fear of the sea. So let's not.
What the hell? Is that a medical term?
Oh yeah. No, that's 100% medical
Okay.
term. Go watch it. Got to be careful. Yeah.
But yeah, no. So I lost. I've lost half a stone personally as well. And then I
nice.
went on. And then I went. Pardon?
That's nice.
Mm.
That's good. That's good. Half a stone.
That is good.
Yeah.
And
16
then.
kilos.
And then I put on half a stone when I went on holiday, which I wasn't best impressed about, but I've already kind of re-lost it again, so it was almost like it was temporary.
We've already talked about this though. Before we actually hit record, we
yeah.
said that holiday calories don't count.
Just don't
Whilst
count.
you're on holiday,
count. No,
none
they
of it
don't.
actually counts. So don't worry about it.
Which was it? I mean, it was interesting because on holiday I was walking an average of 26,000 steps, so kind of counteracts. But also I was on holiday, and I've now ruined Jerry because I've took so many photos of all the food and drink that I was having that Jerry is now going, can I come next year? And I want to try and find that cider because that looks really nice.
Yeah, got the old cider going on. I like it.
Is it
But you
peach and
don't
raspberry?
camp.
Not for I do camp, but 2 nights in a row tops. I won't do any more than 2 nights.
So he's staying for 4 at least.
2 nights.
Such
Stay
a
full.
worse. What you need is one of those big Bedouin tents, like those big Bedouin tents, and then you need to fill it with like luxuries, chocolates,
Yes, I do.
a harem, and then that's what you need.
What?
Like
This
I
is
mean,
like
those Bedouin tents you see in like the desert in John Wick,
In John-
it's full of like nice things.
Oh, one of
That's what you
those, yeah.
Yes, that's what you need. Servants.
and then yeah.
Yeah, so Jerry's coming for 4 nights.
2. I will be there for 2 nights. Just wanted to point that out. So, my health journey, on a serious note, I am actually trying to cut back on chocolate. I do have an issue with chocolate. I am increasing my hot food intake because I'm just addicted to chili.
Hot food
Yeah, I love
intake.
hot food. Chili.
Oh, hot as in spicy food.
as in my tolerance
Right.
levels for chili just seem to be going up and up, and I'm just trying to chase that bigger chili high, and it's almost got to the point of being out of control. So I'm now munching my way through these really ultra hot Thai green bird's eye chilies, which are just insane.
Oh.
And I'm eating them raw with pretty much every meal. I think I've got a problem, so I need to sort that out. But yeah, apart from that, I'm okay. Trying to go for walks, just trying to generally keep healthy. The only problem that I do have, though, is with sleep. So trying to get a good night's sleep, that's my biggest problem. But I'm still doing some research. I was actually contemplating acupuncture. So that was recommended to me literally only yesterday. So I might try that out. Well, I've got to try something because I've tried everything else. Yeah. Anywho.
Sleep's an interesting one. Sleep's a really interesting one because I've never had a problem. I'm like a light switch, right? If I want to go to sleep, I can literally just flick the light switch. Oh, I'll go to sleep now. Done. I know it's annoying for people, but one of the things that really helped is just consistency. So getting into bed at 10 o'clock and then just getting out of bed at, what's that? So you need at least 8 hours to 6 o'clock.
6, yeah. So if you do that, but you have to be very disciplined about it. So you have to go to bed at 10 o'clock. And then you have to give yourself at least 20 minutes before then of screen-free time. Let your brain kind of just do its own thing. And then it sort of gets its muddle out the way and then go to sleep. It should be just after 10. But the more you do that rhythm, the more your body gets used to that rhythm. And bodies like rhythms. So it then knows that it's going to go to sleep. Whereas I will watch a movie until like 1:30 in the morning and then go to bed and my brain's still going, that was a great film. Oh, that was fantastic.
Yeah.
And then at 2:00 in the morning, I'm still going, hang on, why am I not asleep yet?
It's genuinely, and it's a little bit about routine. So before I go to bed, all stuff gets switched off and then generally do the washing up, drying up, clean the sides, put stuff away, then get into bed. Phone doesn't come in the bedroom at all.
Interesting.
And so
mine goes into sleep mode. I have a nighttime mode on mine that I've set to start at 10 and it doesn't turn off until 6.
Yeah. I do not
Doesn't do a
disturb
thing.
from... I'm not going to lie, this is where everyone's going to think I'm a bit of a nerd. Mine starts at 8.
Fine.
Fair enough.
And I'm normally in bed by 9 o'clock. But I get up at 5, so...
Well, I would like to say that the thing that I'm taking away from all of this advice is that Rhythm is Going to Get You by Gloria Estefan
Rhythm is the answer.
and Miami Sound Machine. I actually had to look that
I
up.
don't know who sings that.
It's Gloria Estefan and Miami Sound Machine.
Rhythm is a dancer.
Oh, Rhythm is a
Rhythm
Dancer. That's Snap. I didn't even have to look that up. That's Snap. They also did The Power.
That's...
Yeah.
I've got the power.
Yeah, same band. People. Anyway, same people.
Well, so this just shows like the difference in general knowledge that we have general knowledge, right? Because like, I had not a Scooby Doo, I just have that song, right? And one of the great ways to just wind up somebody with ADHD is you just go, "What song have you got going in your head right now?"
Oh, I have 3.
You have 3. Go for it. It's going to burrow in everyone's brains now. Go for it.
Well, you probably won't know any of them, but so the one is Custer by Slipknot, but there's only 3 seconds of it that is currently going in my brain of each song.
Okay.
And then the other one is there's a song called Ronald, which doesn't sound that bad, but if you look it up, it's actually it's quite good. It's very loud. I can't remember. I'll have to look it up. And then it's the drums from the opening of the session of the Olympics with Gojira. I just got those triplets. Like,
Let's go, Jira.
Oh, love those triplets. They're so good.
Nice.
I'll find out who did Ronald.
Ronald.
Promise you, listen to it.
There's no connection to McDonald's or anything, is there?
It is by Falling in Reverse.
They're a good band.
Mine was an
Never
actual
heard of
knowing.
Falling in Reverse.
Jerry's was I have no idea what's
Never heard of Falling in Reverse.
It's not Jerry's type of music. It's not Jerry's type
Falling
of
in
music.
Reverse.
No.
Yeah, I know them. They're good. But I never heard of Ronald, though. What the hell? Okay. I'm not even going to ask what that's about. Right. So, anything else to mention on health before we move on? No?
Nah.
Right. Let's do it.
Really
We've covered that. So, topical events, Olympics. So, bear in mind that we just
we'll talk about the Olympics.
had the Olympics in France. I'm not even going to mention.
By the time this goes out, the Paralympics will be on, I think. 28th.
Oh, yeah,
to
that's
the
very true.
Oh yeah,
third?
that's
Yeah.
true. That's true.
13th, sorry.
That's true.
Something like that.
So,
That's true.
I'm going to go through this list of questions, which I have to say, I think it was Dom that came up with these.
Yes.
So, but seeing as I'm presenting, I'm going to take the credit for this and say, here are the questions. No, I'm joking. Now, these are your questions, Dom. And in fact, I'm going to ask you both this, and then I'll give you my view. Let's start with the first one. General thoughts on the Olympics as a whole. On the whole, did it feel pretty good? On the whole,
it felt more like preparation G than preparation H. Wasn't quite there. I must admit, the only part I watched a few things from it. I didn't watch a lot of it. I watched the opening ceremony because I thought I was quite interested in what they were going to do. Very, very good opening ceremony. I really enjoyed what they did, how they did it, all the elements they added. I thought that was really well done. I watched some of the equestrian stuff because it was, in a good setting. I watched the archery for about an hour, and that was it. That was all the Olympics that I saw.
Well,
I didn't even see the closing ceremony because I completely forgot about that the Olympics were on.
Well, all I'm going to do is just go on a very quick rant, Dom. Sorry, because this is going to be my view on it.
Go.
Because I can't. So all they bloody televised every single day was the swimming. Every day, swimming. That's all. That's all I ever saw of the bloody Olympics was swimming. I was sick and tired of it. It just went on night after night. Oh, let's try and catch up on the swimming again. So, like, after about day 6 of swimming, I just thought, right, this is absolute dog shit.
There is a lot of swimming.
I'm not doing this anymore. I've had enough. And then I just completely switched off after that. So all I saw was swimming. That was it. And I'm sick of it. Anyway, Dom, what did you think? Did you think it felt pretty good?
Great. I love the Olympics.
On the whole?
Yeah, I mean, I think...
On the whole?
On the whole. I mean, like, I think every Olympics has good and bad points. I thought the closing ceremony was a bit questionable. I think the commentators annoyed me more on the closing ceremony than anything else. They were just a bit pants. But they were there's always individual bits that I think are really good. So what did I watch? I watched the mountain biking. That was good. I watched a lot of the swimming, a lot of the cycling. I watched the taekwondo. I watched the archery, the fencing, the shooting. It's probably easier to list what I didn't. I watched the kayaking, and they got a new event on there called the Kayaking Cross, where there's 4 people just do the slalom route at the same time. So they've all got gum shields and helmets on, so they don't smack each other with the oars. It was bonkers, absolute bonkers. And then I watched a lot of the athletics. I think the athletics for me is the pinnacle bit of the Olympics.
Not the breakdancing.
You always get a bit hyped for not the break. I did not watch the break dancing. That absolutely went.
The breakdancing.
Loved all the memes from it. Obviously, the Turkish shooter. That was great.
Yeah, what a legend.
Did you see there was a thing that the Turkish shooter, there was a picture of him at home after the Olympics, and it was him and his cat. And somebody put underneath there, if something happens to their cat, they're going to make 4 movies about it. I thought that was so funny.
I love the internet. Yay!
No, I thought that was brilliant. But the breakdancing, I mean, come on, guys, tell me how breakdancing is a sport.
Yeah, the ancient Greeks used to breakdance all the time. Back spins, head spins. They used to do the worm, caterpillar.
I mean, They should have ballroom. They should replace it with ballroom for next Olympics.
Yeah, I don't know. They should. I think everyone should try and perfect the dance that Ricky Gervais did in The Office, and then the sort of, with the old. Honestly, absolute joke. So Dom, sorry, just to burrito that one. Then you thought it felt pretty good.
Oh, I love the Olympics. I think there's all the feel-good moments, and I tend to get a bit too excited. So watching the 800 meters with is it Hopkins? What's her name?
Hopkins.
800 meters.
800 meters. I remember running the 400 meters, and that was bad enough because you get to like 200 meters, and you think, "Ooh, I think I may have pushed myself too far, too fast in that first 200. I've got another 200 to go." So by the time I then rounded that final corner,
Hodgkinson. That was it. Okay. Yeah, that was great. God, I was about to say Jessica Ennis, but that's who it used to be previously. What's her name? Katrina Thompson-Johnson in the heptathlon. That was good. The 100 meters was interesting. The 200 meters was interesting. Just love all the athletics and stuff like that. I've said it several times, and I see it more and more recently. I would absolutely love to, they compete in like lanes 1 to 8, and I'd love to have somebody on lanes 0 and 9 who's just a normal Donny to just go at the same time. In fact, I would volunteer, right? I would volunteer to do the 100 meters final with them in LA in 4 years' time. I'd be that person, right? I would, just to see how shit I am compared to them.
You go in lane 9, I'll go in lane 0, or we can swap. I don't mind, whichever, and then we'll just we'll see how we do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll come along to administer CPR when you get to about the 75-meter mark.
You need to be there before then. Wait for me at the 50 meters.
I used to have an all right 100-meter time.
Yeah. What was your 100-meter time?
I used to be able to run 100 meters.
I'm sorry, the 14 seconds, I think.
I've done it in 14 and a half. Wow. I did it in 14 and a half when I was at school.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. I was good at 100. Anything past 100 meters and I was pants. I was absolutely rubbish at running. I just don't. I just can't run. I can't do any kind of distance. But 100 meters, I was good. It was explosive speed, like a cat. Anyway, by the way, can I just say the unsung hero of the Olympics were the people that had the radio-controlled cars that they put the javelins into.
Yes, that was great as well.
I want to do that. Yes. I want to do that next Olympics.
But they do that. They do that in the Six Nations as well. If you go to, when they have the games in Paris, they'll run the ball out on a remote control car.
Yeah. It's normally sponsored by a car manufacturer. So
it's
it was
normally
Volkswagen.
Sponsored by,
Come on, how'd you get that gig? I want to do it.
It's good.
It's cool.
Good. It's a good gig to have.
Is. So,
we used to have somebody at work that went and worked. He did the hockey. He organised the hockey for the Olympics.
Really?
Yeah. He was a contractor, and he disappeared basically for those 2 weeks. He took he went on holiday and helped organise the hockey in the Olympics. Right. Yeah. Was he? It might have been. I'm trying to think which job role it was, but yeah. He's. I mean, didn't him just him, right? There's a team of people, but yeah, he's involved in that team of people because he used to play hockey at a high level, and then when you stop doing that, you go into not everyone goes to commentating on stuff like that. But there's IT that needs to be set up. There's the event that needs to be done. There's draws and stuff like that, and bits and pieces. So yeah.
Wow,
it's all good.
There is a Hockey World Cup. I know that much.
Yeah, there is. There is a Hockey World Cup.
Right.
I mean, it's not the World Cup. I've heard that football's got one as well.
Yeah, here we go. I was waiting for I was just waiting for that. Right, I'm moving on now. What news? I'm definitely moving on. What news?
It's one of those things. No, it's one of those things, right? I've always the secret project that me and Jerry have got coming up next year, right? Is going to be interesting.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
We're going to be doing predictions about a sport, but Jerry knows absolutely naff all about it, whereas I know a reasonable amount.
That's every sport. Every single sport.
Yeah, I don't know anything
What
about
Jerry
sport.
knows naff all.
Yeah, pretty much.
He has nothing.
And it's what right. So the Premier League started this weekend, and I've always thought, do we do something stupid? Like, let us predict what we think the Premier League table is going to be, because we know absolutely nothing about ball. We know naff all, and then it would be very amusing to then reflect on it at the end of the Premier League season and go, well, how far away were? Oh Jesus, we were very far away.
Or we
'Cause
nailed
we know
it.
nothing.
Or potentially we nailed
I mean,
it.
yeah, potentially. I mean, apart from the obvious teams that everybody knows about, I don't even know who's in the Premier League.
Well, it's usually a
get a
fight
list
between
now.
the top. There's a top six, aren't there? You've got Tottenham, Man
think I know
City,
that
Man
there's-
United,
there's-
Arsenal,
Liverpool.
Liverpool. It's just a battle at the top end of the Premier.
I mean, so it's been
Bromley
one
Town.
day. So who do you reckon is top of the league at the moment after one day? Now, one day always has some crazy results.
No idea.
Scooby.
Brighton,
Ipswich.
because they won 3-0 against Everton in the first game. So Brighton, Arsenal, Liverpool, Aston Villa, Man United, Newcastle, Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest, Brentford, Chelsea, Crystal Palace, Leicester, Man City are currently 13th, but they haven't played a game yet. Tottenham,
Haven't played
West
a game
Ham,
yet.
Fulham, Southampton, Ipswich, Wolves, and Everton.
Okay.
Stunned silence.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
interesting.
Oh, and look, the world turns.
I have to admit, the Premier League website is very pretty, though.
Well, that's nice.
But similarly, like, we could absolutely do a predictions for the so maybe right for the next rugby, maybe for the Six Nations, right? Maybe Steve, we get you back and you do the podcast just before the Six Nations,
Okay.
and as part of that podcast, we try and predict what we think the table's going to be at the end of it.
Part of the podcast, we try and try and help Jerry understand what rugby union is.
It's got a funny shaped bull for a start. It
Dude,
can't.
you're
I
into the
like-
NFL.
can't-
So as soon as you start talking
Yeah,
about
well, that's
funny
true,
shaped
actually.
balls, I'm not even playing the game. Round is funny shaped for us, right? Round is funny shaped.
I'll get the coat. That's very true.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll get the coat.
Distinct and jovial.
You
Predicts
are a
sports.
massive NFL fan.
I do
How
like
can
the
you
NFL.
possibly say that rugby balls are
I
funny
know,
shaped?
I know.
It's not as pointy. It's not as pointy. You know, it's not like the dictator. It's got pointy bits because it's going to like stick in the ground.
But then, what are your views on the NFL? Because I don't think you're a massive fan, are you?
I love watching
Do you?
NFL. I love NFL. I love the NFL. I think it's great. I think American football is fantastic. It is one. Americans make sport to be
Yeah,
televised.
it's a spectacle, isn't it?
spectator
Yeah.
sports. So that they can have, you know, if you look at what's it,
Make money.
15 minutes per quarter. Is it
Yep.
15
Yeah,
minutes
it's an
per
hour
quarter?
game that takes 4
4
hours.
Yeah.
It takes 4 hours,
Yeah.
right? And that's because they're constantly playing adverts every time the ball's not in play.
But
But it's a very strategic.
ESPN.
But it is a very strategic game. That's what I love about it. It's actually
I-
quite
It is
deep.
a very
It's
strategic
quite a
game.
deep
It is. It's a very clever game. You have to have a good. You know, you can't just because the way that rugby union is played is that the ball is always in play.
Yes.
It doesn't stop being in play because somebody got tackled or sneezed or whatever. So you end up having to kind of compete for the ball all the time. And in the NFL or like rugby league, when there's a stoppage, then they recycle the ball in a new play. So you do have the attacking team kind of always has the advantage, whereas the rules in union are more around being able to compete for the ball, and both teams should have their own specific advantage in terms of how they do that.
Do you know, you literally took the words right out of my mouth. Right, we're moving on.
You took the words right out of my
I've got to
mouth.
take the giant douche and the turd sandwich out for a walk. We've got a lot of content to cover.
Yeah.
Right.
What, right now?
No, not right now. What new sport would you love to see in the Olympics? Let's start with you, Steve.
No, that's a tricky question. It would have to be a sport that's played kind of all over the world. So you couldn't have like, you know, that sport they play in Mongolia with a sheep's head. Probably couldn't have that one.
Expect that. Absolutely what? What?
I don't know. If you could put like a point system around like coloring in books, that would be quite fun. I don't know. I would love to be able to invent a sport that, I think if I was going to bring a sport in, I'd bring rugby union in because I obviously like rugby union. They really got sevens. Sevens is
Maybe
good fun.
sevens. Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe some NFL. Maybe they could have a shortened version of NFL. Don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, something like that, I think.
Cool.
Ball sports.
All right, Dom.
I've got a couple. So the first initial one that I thought would be great would be it's kind of a two. Would either be frisbee, which is basically it's quite similar to kind of it's like a combination of like netball, rugby, and kind of NFL to a certain extent, in that you kind of chuck the frisbee to each other and you've got to try and intercept it and stuff like that. But you're not allowed to move once you've got the frisbee in your hand. So there's a lot of like kind of stuff. That's quite an energetic and very alternative game. Similarly, you could also then enhance that to what they call disc golf. So it's like golf, but you chuck a frisbee into like a cage with like, that's the aim, is to try and do it in as minimal kind of bits as possible. And then I'm a big motor racing fan, so I would love to have some sort of motor race there. Equal cars. Equal cars. But the thing is, you could also extend that to the Winter Olympics, because you could just do the Winter Olympics one on ice, and then the normal Olympics on gravel or tarmac. Or I think I'd prefer tarmac racing. And then it would be winter, and then it would be rally style winter racing on the Winter Olympics.
Nice.
Would be the two that I would do. And they kind of do this. They call it the Race of Champions Rock. And you'll be surprised.
Do you remember the A1 series? Do you remember the A1 Grand Prix series?
Yeah.
Where it's equal cars and everyone raced for their country.
Yes.
It would be like that, but not suck.
Yes, basically.
How can you put that display on and make it suck? That's what I want to know. Like, that's got all the recipe, all the ingredients for.
I think it depends, right? And if you've got Max Verstappen competing for in it, he's going to be pretty damn good. But if you then mix up the surfaces, maybe not.
Oh, like rallycross, which with
rallycross is done.
That's a good plan.
Oh,
okay,
I like that.
So, I think the one I would go for is, the one where you just basically stand there and you have to slap your opponent. They shove the cotton wool into the ear to stop your eardrums from bursting, and you just have to slap as hard as you can. That's what I want to introduce.
No.
Yep. Shin kicking.
Shin kicking.
What the fringe?
That's what I go for. Or cheese rolling.
Cheese rolling would be great.
How cool would that
Cheese
be?
rolling.
How cool would that be?
Bog diving.
Or the carp fishing, but the
diving.
one where you sort of like jump into the river and you have to reach into.
And you have to
You have
wrestle
to
the
wrestle
carp.
the carp out of their little hulls.
Oh, that's
That'd be
such a good
so
idea.
cool. So cool. I'd love to see stuff like that. But it still only show bloody swimming, so I'll never even get to see any of that. Bastards. Anyway, right. What sport would you like to remove from the Olympics? And you're not allowed to
I've
breakdancing
stipulated you're not allowed to play breakdancing
because that's already been removed.
because it is being removed.
Swimming.
Dan, you stole my answer.
Football.
Oh,
I'd love to see football removed from the thing. And the reason I say football is because the rest of the Olympics, I know that they are professional, but they're supposed to be amateur. But the footballers were kind of professionals, I think. I don't think that, you got so much football as there's on TV anyway, to actually have football in the Olympic Games is just stupid, right?
There was no hype around the football. It was actually the most, I would be honest, it was one of the more boring ones. There was no hype or anything at all.
Yeah, I'd take football out. I would take
Yeah.
football out.
Okay.
Overrated, 100%. I agree with that.
So Dom, you're going for football as well.
But no, I've put I've put something very controversial that people hate me. I've said get rid of the dressage because I don't understand it.
Oh.
And the only time the dressage has ever been good is when there's Kevin Hart and Snoop Dogg. I'm watching the dressage for the first time ever, and he's like, "Look, the horses, crab
That's so
walking."
cool. So
No,
cool.
I'm not a fan of
I don't
dressage.
understand it. I just like to watch
Wait
it
one
because it's
second.
very
Can
clever.
I'd just like to point out, is the horse doing all the bloody work? What sort of sport involves somebody just sitting on a horse and going, right, go on, horse, you do your thing, and then you get the medal? What does a horse get? Nothing. A bit of hay.
Oh, I've got an
Hey.
idea. I've got an idea for a new sport. You know that thing they have at Crufts where you've got that obstacle course that they make the dogs run
Yes.
around? How about that as an Olympic sport?
But with people.
What, you make people do it?
No, dogs.
Or
Or
dogs?
dogs.
Obviously, if you can have dressage and you can have horse events, why can't you have dog
Yeah,
events?
that's very true.
Would you have to use a breed that was from your country as well? so for example, so
But it would have weight. No, you'd have weight classes. You'd have weight classes. So you're like your border collies and whatnot. They'd be up to a certain weight. And your German shepherds and
Turd
your
sandwiches.
Pyrenees mountain dogs and your, Can you imagine one of those Irish wolfhounds trying to get to that tiny little tunnel? But then you'd have like your micro class, and your stupid class, and I'd have a dog in every class.
That'd be so cool, actually. I would love to see that. Personally, I'd love to see that.
Yeah. You could enter Larry,
Larry,
and then you could be the giant douche to
Larry.
every country.
giant douche.
You could pick a fight with everyone. It'd be great.
He's such a douche.
The turd sandwich can run around. Yeah.
I was just looking at it because obviously there's quite a lot that come from the UK, but there's more from other countries than I thought there were.
Okay, there you go.
Anyway,
I think
so let's
I think you'd have to use a dog from your country.
Yeah, I've got one.
It's very long. It's a very long dog.
Alfie,
Oh, Alfie.
do you want
no,
to come
this is-
say hello? Come.
Yes, and we get a thumbnail. Thumbnail, woohoo!
Look. Oh, look at him. Oh, it's a big yawn. Hello. Oh, hello. He is so cute.
There's this theory, isn't there, that dogs start to look like their owners. Who's got the more impressive beard, Jerry?
I wouldn't like to say.
He's just moustache.
Yes.
He is just all moustache. Look.
And that's without the moustache wax, which you need to get.
Oh yeah.
Or just use some gel. He's not happy about that. Yeah, look, he's not happy about that.
He's not enjoying it. He's not enjoying it, is he?
No.
No.
Right. So, what sport would you be the worst at? Do you reckon?
Everyone.
Everyone. Yeah, but if you had to choose just one,
So if I had to compete in every sport, probably something to do with running.
okay.
Because all my life I've abused my joints and my legs. So
Yeah, but I
they
reckon
crunch a lot.
you could. I reckon you could complete the 100 meters. For example,
I could walk it, yeah.
it wouldn't be quick,
I
but so I'm
could jog
gonna
it. I could probably jog it, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
gonna
not unfit. I'm not unfit, but my running ability isn't an ability. I can run, but not really
You
fast.
can run, but you can't hide.
Yeah.
But I'm fit, so I could probably run for a long period of time. I mean, I'm rowing pretty much every day for about 45 minutes, and I'm not unfit. I'm just not a runner.
Whereas
I'm not running fit.
if I said to you, right, you've got to do the pommel horse.
No.
The rings, the
No.
Olympic rings.
No. I've got the upper body strength of a small bird.
What? Okay.
I've got
How
no
small?
upper body strength.
Sparrow?
I have. Oh yeah,
Pigeon?
yeah. The lesser African spotted sparrow,
Okay.
Is that unladen or laden?
laden,
Laden.
obviously.
Oakley dokley. Dom?
And those rings, where they pull themselves up.
That's, yeah,
Couldn't do
yeah,
that.
that's insane.
Yeah, I basically said, right, I'll be totally honest, right? I could throw a javelin, I could jump over a bar. So athletics wise, I could throw the discus. It just wouldn't be far. Swimming, and cycling, I could do that. I can kayak. It just wouldn't be quick. There's no way I could do some of the gymnastics or the diving. Those are the two I was like, there's absolutely not in a million years that I could do any of that. The diving because I don't like heights, and the gymnastics because just no.
Yeah. Swimming. See, for me, it'd be swimming. Anything involving water. I'm such a shit swimmer. I literally, I'd dive in and then I'd just like sink to the bottom, and then you'd have to have somebody just, whilst everyone else is like carrying on with their lengths, you'd have to have somebody jumping into the water to try and pull me back out again.
Well, we'll get you floaties.
Yeah, I want armbands. I'll give it a go.
You could have Union Jack armbands.
That'd be pretty cool.
Floaties.
Yeah, I'd like to do that. Or just get like one of those.
Isn't it the greatest
flamingos, inflatable flamingos or something, and then it just like kick as hard as I can and try Lilo, just like that. Like pushing the water as like quickly as I could. Yeah, I'd give that a go.
Will you not stop splashing me?
because then you could. Yeah, it would also double up as breakdancing.
Yeah, that's very true. And if I was to position myself,
you'd probably score more points.
Probably, and I could probably drink cider whilst I'm doing it. That'd be pretty cool. That'd be a cool sport.
Could we have cider drinking as an Olympic sport?
That'd be
Because then I
amazing.
could do that.
Yeah.
Fine.
Apple bobbing. That could be a sport.
Yeah.
Apple bobbing in cider.
Yeah, in cider that'd be even better. So as the
'cause you get a
rounds
big barrel of
progress, you
cider.
see everyone's getting more and more pissed, and then
Yeah,
you get more
you know,
variables.
I'm sure only a couple of people would drown.
See, that's the kind of sport where, like, so at summer camp, we've basically done it where you put a chair like on the field, right, and then you're on the other end of the field, and then you put your head on a bow staff, and then you spin round like 20 times, and then you have to go and sit on the chair.
Whilst sober or pissed, or as it just progresses as the more you drink?
I don't think either really
Yeah,
helps,
true.
right? I mean, like I've done both.
Nice.
That'd be
That
great.
would be a good
Yeah,
sport.
you don't want to go to the summer camp where somebody sits on the chair and then at the other end of the field is a little bit more archery related, shall we say?
Yeah. to be fair, some of the kids this year did have like a foam archery set, and there was a couple times arrow comes whistling past, like, oh, it's smacked.
Nice.
I like it.
Nice.
Maybe next year I think we need to have a Nerf theme. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. Right. If you were paid a living...
I want to read this question.
you want to read
I want to
it?
read this question.
Okay,
I
go
want
on then.
I want to explain this one because this is what kickstarted.
Okay.
It's kickstarted it because it actually it came up on another podcast, and it was like, if you were paid like a living wage or money, your salary now, but you didn't have to go to work, and you had to choose a sport to medal in at the Olympics, what do you reckon is the one that you would have the biggest chance to?
Breakdancing.
You've got 4 years to train, basically, from now.
Rowing. I would probably have the best shot at rowing. I actually enjoy rowing. I like it. It's a nice activity, and to actually do it on water sounds like it could be quite a lot of fun. I would pick rowing, definitely.
Jerry?
I don't know. Can you go through
athletic
yours?
skills
you go
are
through yours
good.
whilst I think of that.
Yeah. Well, what do you think mine is? Because I reckon that some of you
Taekwondo.
maybe...
No, you can't. No,
would not.
You wouldn't be allowed to do it. I know.
Well, climbing.
No, I would probably go for cycling.
Okay.
I think cycling would be the one that I would... Because I used to cycle, and I think it would be... Especially if it's a team-based one.
Okay.
So it'd be... I reckon I could do first out the blocks, the first lap, and then...
Okay.
They would need to get quite a big boat for me, though. I would need like
4 years of
big
training, though. I think you'd
4
probably
years
be...
is a long time.
Oh, do you know what'd be cool though? Is if they had like rowing, but instead of those like rowing were they called skulls, skills, whatever?
Yeah.
Skulls. They have like a galleon or like those big Roman boats, and then they then they charge into it. Actually,
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Actually, that's a sport they should introduce, like they did in the Roman times. Like you have chariots, like chariot fighting.
Chariots of fire.
Yeah, with the
paddleboard
spikes
racing.
out of the wheels and stuff like that.
Paddleboard racing. That'd be great as well, wouldn't it?
I would go for climbing. By the way, that's what I would do. You mentioned
would climb?
Yeah, you mentioned climbing because I love climbing. I was pretty good at it when I was younger.
I've got no fingers. Well, no finger strength.
Which
I
which
don't
climbing would you go for?
The one
The speed
speed
or the distance?
Speed.
Or the distance one?
Speed. Definitely.
Okay.
So when I
enough.
was a lot younger, my parents had to have a lot of work done on the roof of the house. It's quite a tall house, and they put the scaffolding up on all the way up to the top. And I remember I used to constantly just climb up that scaffolding and go to the top. And I used to stand on the chimney at the top, like freak my mum out. I got to a point where I just couldn't tell her when I was doing that. So I'd wait until they were out of the house and then I'd just literally climb all around the scaffolding. I loved it. So yeah, climbing.
You're
Speed
a nutter.
climbing. That's what I'd go for.
Speed climbing.
So cycling, Dom, that's what you'd go for.
Cycling. I think it'd be the cycling.
Nice.
Or the swimming.
Okay. Well, choose one. Cycling.
No, I'm a pretty good swimming. Cycling would probably be better.
Nice. Dom, I'm going to hand over to you for this next one as well.
Yeah.
'Cause this is...
We got some blindly rates, and I'm quite excited.
Oh
for this
no!
one.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh
rates.
no! Exactly. I'm the one that gets bloody stung on this every time. So
Every time.
I think, to be
I've
honest,
listened
there
to a
isn't.
few.
I'll be nice. There isn't a bad way to do this one,
you sure?
but it's just going to strike up some.
I'm sure I'll find
There
it.
isn't a bad way to do it.
because
I'm sure that there is a bad way of doing
There
it,
isn't-
which is because that's what happens every time.
because there isn't really a bad item in this one. So this is movie scenes, and there are 10 of them.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Right? So obviously you don't know what's coming next. You've just got to
So
kind of rank
So
them.
we have to. We're both doing it, yeah?
Yeah, both you and Jerry are going to give answers.
Okay.
I will do Steve first on this
All right.
one. So first movie scene, the sword waving shot from Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
How many are there?
10.
10.
7.
Jerry?
5.
I'll tell you why I say 7 because it is good. It's very clever. It's nuanced, but it's
Dated.
a bit meh. It's a bit lazy. Yeah.
The bullet time scene from The Matrix when Neo first dodges the bullets.
If you'd asked me when I just saw the film, 1. Now, probably 5.
I'm the same as Steve. I say now it's a 7. I've let it marinate. It's a
Ooh.
7.
I am Iron Man from Iron Man. The last scene from the
10.
10.
Fair enough.
We both went in straight in there with 10.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
It was so self-indulgent and just nah.
I think that's what I quite like it for that reason. Welcome to the party, pal. Die Hard when he throws the body out of the building. I've deliberately not always chosen the most famous scene from the film.
No,
yeah,
but that's
that
a good
particular
scene. Yeah, I like that scene.
It is one of those scenes where, yeah, I'm going to give it a 4.
4?
Have I used 4?
No.
I'm going to go for 6.
The opening sequence of Baby Driver.
I've seen Baby Driver once. I don't remember the opening sequence that well, so I'm
It's
going
when
to
he's in the red Subaru.
Yeah. Again, because it's a Subaru, 9.
I'm going 9 as well. I didn't like that film. Did not like that film.
Didn't like the film.
The panning shot when they go, "Welcome to Jurassic Park" from the original Jurassic Park.
The panning shot.
So the shot where they pan across the with all the dinosaurs in the background.
Oh,
the first time they go to Jurassic Park.
When I saw that, that movie blew my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. And it's a bit like people, especially kids today. They go, "Oh, when you played video games, our imaginations had to fill in quite a lot because everything was a bit kind of pixely and not even 8-bit, sometimes 4-bit." So when I first saw Jurassic Park, and people have said, "Oh, but you can clearly see the CGI." Back then, you couldn't clearly see the CGI because it was so, so new, and you just had no idea. I'm going to give that shot 3.
3.
I'm going 4.
Yeah, cool. A bit more modern film, the Vader's hallway from Rogue One, at the end of Rogue One.
That was very good.
That's amazing.
That was very good. Especially like the fill-in for Princess Leia at the end of that film. I really liked that. That's really well done.
It was actually.
See, I'd probably give that the 3, and then move Jurassic Park up, but I can't.
No. And you can't even go 4 or 5 because you've already used those.
2. It's definitely not my 1. I'm sure there better be a better one for 1.
Yeah, I don't know what else is coming up, so I'm going to go for. I'm going to play it safe and go for 3.
3. And I'm just checking that you can use 3. Yep. Number 8. You Shall Not Pass: The Fellowship of the Ring.
What's the lowest one I've got? 8.
8.
What's the lowest one I've got?
The same.
Yep, chuck that in there.
8.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to have a quick look. So you've got 1.
We've each got 1.
You've each got 1.
And 2.
And I think I've got 6.
Oh, I've got 1 and 2, I think.
Well, Jerry's got 1 and 2, and Steve has 1 and 6.
Okay.
So number 9, Duel of Fates: The Phantom Menace.
I can't put that at 1. So it's going to have to go in 6.
Yep. Jerry, 1 or 2. 1 or sorry. Hang on. Yeah, Jerry, you've got 1 and 2.
This is where I'm going to get stung.
Yeah, because 1 is going to suck
Yeah.
completely.
Do you know what? I'm not going to get caught out again. I'm going 1.
1. So Steve's number 1 and Jerry's number 2 is "You're Going to Need a Bigger Boat" from Jaws.
Yeah.
Okay,
no,
I'm happy with that.
100%. I'm happy with that.
Fair enough.
I
Fair enough.
wouldn't, if 1 was if I could reshuffle them, it wouldn't be my 1. But yeah.
So, what would your 1 be out of those? So you've got the sword waving shot from Indiana Jones, Bullet Time: The Matrix, I Am Iron Man from Iron Man, Welcome to the Party Pal by Die Hard, opening sequence from Baby Driver, Welcome to Jurassic Park, Vader's Hallway, Rogue One, You Shall Not Pass from The Fellowship of the Ring, Duel of Fates: The Phantom Menace, and You're Going to Need a Bigger Boat from Jaws.
Easy one for me.
Yeah, I'd still actually thinking about it. Out of all of those, the bigger boat one was because there was a lot of, again, it was something that your imagination was filling in the bits that you weren't seeing, and there were a lot of things, and then suddenly the shark came out, the shark came out of the water, like a bath toy, and then it was like, oh, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'd go Rogue One.
And Jerry?
Rogue One, definitely. That scene.
So you'd swap your Duel of Fates to, swap your 1 and 3.
Yeah.
Just trying to see what you put as 2. Oh, the 2 was Jaws. There you go. So yeah, there you go. Blindly rates. I've got some cracking blindly rates coming up as well later.
I love the blindly rate. I love it.
Yeah.
Where, incidentally, so where would you put, if you had to add in, and you could put it anywhere, the stair fighting scene from John Wick 4?
Oh God.
Ooh. For me, out of those, well, I'd like to point out that my one would be the Vader's hallway, and my two would be the opening sequence, the Baby Driver. Where would I put the stair sequence? I think, do you know what? That might be up there.
It just went on forever, though.
I think it's too long.
It is too long. I think it's too long.
I prefer
whole scene-
the original John Wick to the other three.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if you
So the
said,
original's good.
so if you said the oh God, what's the scene? Just trying to think
Scene
of the
for
scene.
me is when he goes into the club, when he goes after.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
when
yeah.
very
When
good.
he starts in the spa section
Yes.
of the club.
Yes. That for me is
Yeah.
iconic.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many good.
Yeah.
So the stair sequence is probably sort of 3 or 4 for me out of all of those scenes. But if you that club scene from the original
Oh,
John Wick, I think is
amazing.
probably a 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, I would. I mean, there are better scenes in 2. I enjoyed 2 the most. I must admit, I didn't enjoy. 1 was good, set the scene nicely. 2, I enjoyed. Story was
Yeah, I
good.
agree.
And introduced you a lot more into what the organization, the shadow
high
of the
table.
organization is. The high table. It introduced you a lot
Spoiler
more to
alert.
what that was about.
Yeah.
And, there was additional things that you could add in there. 3 was good on its own. 4 was good, but it kind of started to feel a bit tired at the end.
Yeah.
Like, don't make 5.
Basically. Yeah. I think they
I
are
think-
making 5 as well, aren't they? From what I've
Uh,
heard.
One of the things I think that directors and people, especially with television shows, fail to do is they fail to come up with a good ending to a
Yes.
television series or a sequence of films. It's why something like stuff that's based on books that have finished, so like the Hunger Games, for example, were good because you were like, well, here's what we're going to do in 1, here's what we're going to do in 2, and here's what we're going to do in 3. Right? And if 3 doesn't happen, if number 1 bombs, then you just don't do the other 2 movies. Fine, whatever. But that's the problem. Those kind of films are great. And it's the same television shows. So if you go back to Game of Thrones, they just didn't know how to end it, and it was rushed and not thought out and not put
Yeah.
together.
That was shocking.
Whereas if they'd gone, this is all of the loose ends that we've created, and here's how we're going to get there. So here's the plan that we need to make.
So I don't think that they actually thought about any of. I don't think they were keeping track of the loose ends. To be honest, I think they'd kind of forgotten. Some guy with a notebook was supposed to be writing down all the loose ends, and he kind of
Left
forgot.
it on the train.
But I know. So just to go back to series, I mean, in your last episode, you slagged off Breaking Bad. I loved Breaking Bad. I'm gonna just come out flatly and say I really enjoyed Breaking Bad. And the best thing about Breaking Bad was that it ended properly. It
Yes.
ended in exactly the way that it should have ended. It was an absolutely brilliant series. Loved it. You did have to stick with it. It was a bit of a labor of love at one point, but you had to sort of stick with it. Series that ended badly, Lost. I
Lost
was
was awful.
addicted to Lost. I was addicted
was.
to Lost. I was like, it was my cocaine. I was addicted every Tuesday or Thursday or Wednesday, whenever it was on. I was watching it. And then got to the end and it was like, what?
It was everything that
No.
Damon Lindelof and J.J. Abrams said would not happen. Because I remember I was a massive fan of Lost, and I was a member of all of the fan forums, and I actually did a phone in to one of the shows, Lost Appreciation shows, and we were talking about the fact that it's like, are you sure this isn't purgatory? They're not stuck in purgatory. And the whole time, the message just kept coming back. No, it's definitely not that. You're barking up the wrong tree. Oh, okay. You sure? Yeah. And then it like got to like season 3, season 4. Everyone was asking, "So, are you absolutely sure?" Yeah, no, definitely not. Like, well, you haven't closed that story arc. Like, we don't really understand what happened with that lab. Don't get like with the numbers. What happens when you put the numbers in? So there was, all these things were only starting to unfold, but they didn't answer a lot of things. So for every 100 questions that they asked, they only answered about 5. And then it got to
had
the
the same
end, and it's
problem
like,
as
oh,
what-
they're in
the same
purgatory.
problem, yeah.
Fucking really?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, they had the same problem as Game of Thrones. They couldn't keep track of all the problems they were creating along the way. But
It was such an addictive show, though, Steve. I'm right. I'm with you. You're right.
It was addictive because there was all this mystery, and they were making more mystery and more mystery, and it was all just mystery. And I imagine that is, if there is a purgatory, that is probably what it's all about. You get there and they go, here's the mystery, solve the mystery. But as you're solving the mystery, it's suddenly not important to solve that mystery. No, you've got another one over here, and we're going to keep you in a cage, but your key is over there, and you have to sing a song in an impossible key or whatever. I don't know, but it just keeps changing like that. But you did get Evangeline Lilly's photo, signed Evangeline Lilly's photo.
Oh no, this is now out there. I did.
Yes, you
yes,
did.
I did.
Yeah.
That's another story. We will not be delving into that.
Another story for another podcast.
Another story for another podcast. Yeah, bit of a fan of hers. I didn't think she'd make a comeback, and then she came back in Ant-Man and Wasp.
Yes.
But yeah, Lost was awful, but awfully so good too to watch. It was not a chore to watch. You sort of sat there and you let your mind think about what was going to happen and how they were going to unfold and what the answer really was, and did you have it right? And then at the end, it didn't matter. That was the worst part about it.
Yeah, it just didn't matter.
Series that ended well. I mean, a lot of series start. A series that should have carried on, Firefly. Why didn't they carry on Firefly? They got one series of Firefly, and that was the end of it. Yeah, but the other thing that you said last time out was true. Is that I'm finding the movie business very disappointing at the moment. It's just sequels to sequels to sequels to sequels to sequels.
Sequels and remakes.
Remakes as well.
And remakes.
Makes my
I can't do the remakes anymore. Just let it go. If you want to make remake Airwolf, then please do that. But if you want to remake Blue Thunder, you can do that. You have my blessing, because it'll probably look quite awesome now. But please don't stop remaking The Little Mermaid.
They're so risk averse now, and Jungle Book, and they're so risk averse that they're just not willing to do anything new.
What's going on with Disney? Are they just so? Are they in the business of making movies that nobody wants to watch?
I don't know.
I remember the last time I watched a Disney movie, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's a shocker. But yeah. Dom, what about you for series with a good ending?
That's such a difficult question because I've not watched television in so long. Nothing has.
No,
like that. I've
nothing
really
has
watched.
Scratched that itch.
What about Dexter?
Yeah, Dexter was pretty good.
Dexter was okay.
It ended well, and then they brought it back.
Yeah.
Don't.
I don't know. I'm just gonna be like,
whilst you're looking that up and thinking about it, I'm just going to say my piece. The Leftovers. They did 3 seasons. And the way that it ended, for a lot of people, was very unsatisfying. But for me, I thought it was a perfect ending.
I've never seen it.
Because
I didn't watch In-Betweeners either.
In-Betweeners.
I didn't watch that. I was too busy watching Lost.
That was such a good show, though.
I'm just trying to, like, all the ones that I'm just looking at that like, I've not seen them. So I just had a quick look at, like, very quick Google. So Breaking Bad, yeah, I've not seen. The Wire, not seen. The West Wing, not seen. The Americans, not seen.
Surprise?
Parks and Recreation, not seen. Mad Men, not seen. BoJack Horseman, seen parts of, not seen. 30 Rock, not seen, and Broad City and Halt and Catch Fire, both ones that I've not seen. Ones that ended badly, Game of Thrones, yes. Lost, absolutely. Heroes is an interesting one
yeah.
because I actually gave up.
I did.
I gave
got
up
to-
on Heroes.
I
gave up.
season 1 was incredible. Season 2 sucked. I was like, oh, I can't be arsed with it.
Yeah, I did not enjoy Heroes after about season 2.5.
Scrubs
yeah.
was bad. Arrested Development was bad. Don't know Once Upon a Time. Weeds, don't know that. True Blood, not seen. Gossip Girl. Dexter was really poor when it finished. I was like, no, Dexter was really bad when it finished.
The last season was a struggle because the whole relationship between him and his sister was falling apart, and it was a bit.
Yeah.
It was difficult to watch because a lot of it didn't make any kind of sense. There were things that they were doing that normal people wouldn't do. But I found that the way it ended was kind of the only way they really could end it. Short of him dying, and they weren't going to kill him off because there was more money to be made in making it happen again. So, yeah, I think it kind of ended the best way that they could, short of him literally spontaneously combusting, which would have been quite fun.
Yeah, I think it should have.
Series that I like limited series where there are
Yeah, I do.
a set number of episodes. If you've not seen Godless is very, very good. Very, very good. I would recommend Godless. What was the other one that we just finished watching? It's a Spanish one that is dubbed, but it's very good.
What was the heist?
Is
Is it called Heist? No.
No, it's I'll remember it in a bit.
Well, that's a lot of
But
limited
yeah,
series
there's
anyway.
lots of
isn't
good
it?
series. Yeah, there's what's it called? I can't remember. I've got a memory like a sieve. Just everything falls through it.
I think-
But yeah, there's lots. Limited series generally are quite good because they don't. They have to end them.
Yeah, and exactly. So it's a proper story arc,
Fallout.
proper
Fallout
ending.
was amazing.
Yeah.
Fallout. Yeah, I
You know,
I haven't seen that.
Fallout was
good?
amazing. But then I don't think it was. I think with Fallout, if you enjoy the games and you've played the games, you will enjoy Fallout because it is the game.
What
pretty
about
much.
Walking Dead?
It's very. I got
it's
to
still going
season
on.
5
Right.
of Walking Dead and I just gave up. I couldn't be asked. Could not
So, like-
be asked.
Chernobyl. Limited time.
I saw. No, that was on Sky. I hadn't watched that one.
I haven't seen that either. But again, limited series is good because I think there's something nice about knowing that you're going to get to the end point. There's going to be an ending. They have to wrap it up properly. You're going to have to burrito this, yeah, and they're going to have to do a good job of burritoing. There's pressure for them to burrito it properly. Whereas, this whole thing of we'll just leave that season 1 open, and you think, oh yeah, they've teed that up for season 2, and then you start that painful journey of how many seasons are they going to do of this? You think, well, I'll give season 2 a shot, and then you start watching season 2, and you think, this is just like, why couldn't they just wrap this up properly? They could have made it a limited series, and actually everyone would have remembered it for what it was and said, oh, that was an absolute masterpiece. But then they go and ruin it. So Lost, if they had stopped after, let's say, season 3 and answered a lot of, not maybe tried to do too much with it, but then wrapped it up really well, that would have been an iconic. People would still be talking about it today. Because for me, Lost was groundbreaking. Pretty much everyone I knew was into it. Everyone. Because it was just incredible.
It was easy to get into as well because the mystery was so good. It was so real. And all the characters were identified. You could identify with the characters because they were all dickheads, and everybody could understand what was going on, except for the fact that because it was, the mystery was always there. Yeah. I really liked that.
So they
what was the series that Mike Myers did?
the Pentaverate.
Where he played.
I
Oh,
love
the
that. You see,
Pentaveret.
that was brilliant. That
Love
was
that.
so funny.
You see, the amount of humor in that series was absolutely
It was
stunning.
hilarious.
If you've not seen it, I mean, some of the things in it are. He does like to play multiple characters. I think it's probably because there's millions of voices in his head. But one of the characters is a Canadian talk show host or a Canadian like news presenter or whatever. Whenever you see them on screen, it always looks a bit like you're watching a 1980s television. Okay, so then they're going to go to America, and as they go to America, the picture
That's my
clears up, and it's almost
favourite.
like the whole of Canada is in like 1980s
It's
television.
my favourite scene because it all goes into suddenly goes into high definition.
Goes into high
It is
def.
so
It's
funny.
just
So
genius.
funny.
So
It's-
clever, subtle but
It's
beautiful.
beautifully
It's so
done.
nice.
Yeah, it's a really, really good. I love Mike Myers.
Pentaveret.
It's fantastic.
Oh,
Aren't
that
you
was
glad I
one of
didn't
the-
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. We went down a bit of rabbit hole there. I like it. Right. So, actually, sorry, Dom. Before we move on, so you're not voting any series as having a perfect ending.
No, I can't
Fine.
think of one that's
Fine.
I've watched that I'm like, that's got a satisfying ending. Like even some of the bits and pieces that aren't really television series, things like, Top Gear, the Grand Tour, those types of things.
Yeah.
I just don't think really like. Even like I watched the most recent Top Gear, the Grand Tour recently, and I was a bit like, yeah, there's some good quotes, like it's a Jag. You've changed the badge,
Yeah.
etc. Have we done this something? Are we about to do something properly? We haven't done it yet. Yeah, those types of like quotes are still there and thereabouts, but like the Sand Tour was 2 hours and 20 minutes. I was like, blimey, O'Reilly. So yeah, they're doing one more episode and then they're done. So
2 hours and 20 minutes of Clarkson is 2 hours and 20 minutes of too much Clarkson.
I mean, there's no more juice left in that orange. They need to stop squeezing it.
yeah.
Right. Moving on to poignant questions. So, Steve, these are for you.
Hi.
But Dom, jump in
Hi.
as well if you want to answer any of these.
Oh, poignant.
Poignant,
questions.
really poignant. Like really, really poignant.
Poignant.
I'm going to start with the most poignant one. No, I'm not actually. I'm going to start with the first one on the list. What's the weirdest thing you've ever seen or witnessed?
Have you ever seen a man eat his own head?
No, that you've actually witnessed.
Have I ever witnessed the weirdest thing that I've witnessed? While not high. Oh my god, I can't. See, if you'd give me some time to think about this before the
I
podcast,
did put it
I
in
could
the
probably come
notes.
up
I
with
did put it
something.
in the notes. We can come back to that one.
Yeah, last
Yeah.
night.
Last night.
We can come back to that one.
When I looked at the notes on Friday, the notes were the same as what they were: death, and more death.
Well, we can come back to that. Let that one marinade.
Honestly, I don't have I was looking. I don't have an answer for this one. It's the
No.
weirdest thing I've seen.
I mean, I've seen some weird stuff. I don't know what the weirdest thing would be. I did see a goat with two heads, but it was dead. It was in a jar.
What? I don't know what-
So animals can have Siamese twins too.
Yeah, they can.
And there was a goat that there was a
Siamese twins are conjoined.
conjoined twin. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a goat with the obviously hadn't got to full term, and and it was in a jar, had two heads.
That's pretty
That is
weird.
pretty weird.
Oh,
I'm
that's up
laughing at
there.
that. I'm laughing
That
at
is
just
definitely
how
up-
weird that is. Yeah, that is up there.
Yeah.
Dom, what's the weirdest thing you've ever?
I mean, I've got nothing. Like, honestly, I've got nothing because I've had such a sheltered childhood and then a very simple. I mean, I live in a place that's like not particularly got weird things happening.
I did see Dom stand next to a horse. That was pretty weird.
That wasn't weird. That was pretty terrifying. This poor horse.
It was the most docile horse. It was like it had taken, somebody had been feeding it weed instead of hay. It was just standing next to Dom,
Well, that's
looking pretty spacey.
Yeah.
I mean, we were tied up. I was about to say we were tied up at the time, but we were connected. linked with,
Whoa.
exactly.
With a horse. I'm not even going to ask what you're up to.
Disclaimer:
Well,
Dom and I have
so
never been
what
tied together.
we were in a group of 3, right? And basically, you had to put, is it a bridle
It was a rope bridle. You had to put a rope bridle over the horse.
over the
Was it-
horse?
I didn't have you, did I?
No, it was me.
I was in the middle.
No, I was in the middle with Aid and
Nick.
Nicky Bridley, and so I was in the middle because I was like, I'm not going anywhere near the creature, but neither of them knew what they were doing, and you came over to be like, lads, do you need some help? And the
So,
answer to that was
yeah.
yes.
So the goal of the exercise was that you stood three people next to each other, and you put your arms around the person in the middle put their arms around either person on
You
the
linked
side, and then
arms, so you only
you
had
linked
one
arms.
hand each.
So each person on the end only had one each, and the person in the middle had to tell the people on the ends what to do to put the bridle on the horse. So I know how to do it, and I had Andy Hobbs and what's his face? Can't remember his name now. It's his face. Damn it! I'll remember it in a bit.
Was it very short?
Yeah,
To Tom.
Tom Hocking.
Yes.
And I just told them what to do, and they did it. And then we were done, and then we came over and
About
helped you.
3 seconds, and I was stood there like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't like horses.
Horses.
So, and bless his horse, he was very patient. He just stood there and was like, "Come on, gents, will you hurry up?"
But we knew we were going to go and do this thing. So for the week beforehand, and it must have been at least a week, probably 2 weeks, we started sending on Teams. We were sending Dom every picture of a violent horse attack that we could find on the internet, like horses being bad on YouTube, and just to sort of
Brilliant.
set the scene a bit,
Brilliant.
just to sort of wind him up even more.
That's cruel.
As you
Not
do.
That's
man.
cruel.
To be
I
honest,
don't
it wasn't
pick 'em
me. It was the obvious suspect in that,
Okay.
which was everybody but me.
Right.
We were all doing it.
We were all doing it.
Moving on to question number.
It was a good day.
Oh,
It was a
It
good
was
day.
a good
sorry.
day. Yeah,
There's more
enjoyed
to
that.
this. Okay, go for it. It's a good day.
No,
you
done
done?
now.
No, we're done now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But it was a good day.
Do you know what? I was waiting for that. Which is why I deliberately didn't say anything. I knew you were going to do that.
Yeah, I am done now.
You sure? Yeah, absolutely sure. You got that out of your system. Yeah.
As well out of my
Nice.
system, yeah.
Nice. Right.
It's had carbolic flesh putting behind it.
Oh. Okay. What's the craziest thing you've ever purchased?
Purchased. Craziest thing I've ever purchased.
I know the stupidest thing I've ever purchased.
Oh, go on, Tom.
I mean, I didn't purchase my wife, but that's pretty crazy.
What's the craziest thing your wife's purchased? And you've gone, why have you bought that?
Wedding rings.
Oh,
Joking.
Awkward silence.
I can't think of the craziest thing I've ever purchased. I don't normally purchase crazy things. I purchase things that I think I'm going to really enjoy using them, and then I don't use them.
I've done that too.
I do that a lot more than I should. Like for
I have a
my
slow
modelling
cooker that I've never
for my
used.
hobbies, I will have things that can do just one thing, and then I hardly ever do that one thing. But I've got the thing in case I ever want to do that thing. Like I've got a small tool that
That's it. Anyway, next question.
only makes rivet lines on models. That's all it does.
Okay.
And I hardly ever use it.
Are you
I
okay,
think
Jerry?
so.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there.
Are you falling off
I'm
your
falling
seat?
off my seat.
There was a crash.
There was a crash, and I almost went A over T. Sorry. So let me just. Okay.
Of all the things to filter, it was to filter
Is
our
it
side of it.
Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know why I filtered that. So, okay, so all I caught was I have a small tool. Sorry, that makes rivets. It makes rivets. In models.
That makes rivets.
Makes rivets.
Okay.
I know the stupidest thing I've
Go
got
on then.
purchased. A Citroen.
No, for
That was the
Jesus.
stupidest thing I ever purchased.
Oh my god! The stupidest thing I ever purchased was a Renault 5.
GT
What?
Mm. No, it was a Renault 5. It was a Renault 5. You know how they get names, like Zest, and
Yes.
mine was a Renault 5 Campus. So it was designed for students, right? And I bought it because we only had one car at the time, and my ex-wife was using that to take the kids to school and run around in, and I just wanted my own little car. So somebody that I knew was selling a Renault 5 for £300, and it came with an MOT and it had just been serviced. So I thought, 300 quid, it'll last me a year. Got the car, it lasted me 7 months, and at the end of that 7 months, the radiator, the thermometer inside it is like a mechanical thermometer. It basically uses two different metals. One expands faster than the other. When it gets hot, and it opens up the cooling circuit. Well, that failed. Didn't open up the cooling circuit, and the hot water pipe blew while I was driving. And if you want to know how much steam that produces,
A fair
A lot.
amount.
it was apocalyptic. So, yeah, that didn't go well. I fixed that, and I fixed that by myself, and then eventually all the electrics just packed up, like completely packed up. You put the indicator on, the headlights would come on, and
Jeez.
Mine was almost as good as that. So I bought very expensively my third car. I bought a Citroen DS3. So I bought my little hot hatch, and it went like a fucking rocket. And you thought, that they raced this in the World Rally Championship, so surely it's reliable. What the best one that went wrong was I just arrived to pick up somebody in Bournemouth, and turned it on, and it just went dunk and just ground to a halt. And like it had electrics, and the starter motor would go, but nothing. That's weird. So
yeah,
I picked it up from a breakdown truck, took me back to where I live. I took it back to the Citroen dealership, and they took it apart, and they went, the entire wiring loom for the car, the entirety of it is corroded.
What?
So
What?
So
What?
And it just so happened that the first thing electrical that went was the fuel pump. So all the stuff worked, but the entire wiring loom cost me $3,000.
Why did it cost you?
They wanted.
Why
And I
did it
went-
cost you?
And I went, how does the sealed thing get corroded? Explain that to me.
The whole thing.
Yeah, basically some
That's
water had got onto the thing, and it
insane.
just spread across the whole wiring loom throughout the whole car.
What?
They had to take apart the whole car to replace the wiring loom
Why didn't they just
So-
give you a replacement car?
because they were massive next Tuesdays, and I gave in too easily, and I should have not spent my money on it. So that
If it
was
was
the
under
craziest
warranty
thing I
and-
spent.
Yeah, and that's insane.
It wasn't new. It wasn't a new
That's
car.
insane.
Okay,
Okay.
that's just disgusting.
That
man.
Citroen dealership no longer exists.
Funny that.
And
Well,
I have to be
I mean,
honest,
I'm not a
best pleased.
nationalist. I don't slag countries off because a lot of people go, "Oh, the French," but I think the French are fine as a country. They have people who are douches, and they have people who are nice, as every country does. But I've never ever heard anyone telling me how good a French car is.
I've never had a good French car.
I've never met anyone who's had a good French car.
See, I got a 106. I got
Yeah.
a Peugeot 106 GTI. I bought it brand new.
Oh, the GTI. No,
Right,
that
that
was
was a
nice
lovely car. It was a beautiful car to drive, but I went through 2 ignition coil packs, leaky sunroof. They had to replace other problems with the window electrics, problem with the fuel injection system. It literally just went.
The electrics on those cars
Oh, it
always
just
went.
the
They're terrible.
problems just went on and on and on. In the whole time I had that
Wired
car,
with chewing gum.
yeah, I mean, I spent about $4,000 just to keep that thing on the road. I bought that car brand new. By the way, when I went to pick it up, there was a problem with the paintwork. So the first thing, literally, as I went to pick it up and I drove it out to the showroom, I knew I had to take it back a week later to source. They had to source the right paint, silver paint for it to do the paintwork on the back rear panel. A brand new car. I was like,
So, distinct and jovial top tip for you: don't buy a French
There you
Like a
car.
French car.
right. Moving swiftly on before we get sued by French car manufacturers.
Bite me.
Don't buy an Italian car.
Honestly,
Bite me.
like if Citroen want to go to war, I absolutely will.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Because I'll go there in a car that works and they won't.
Bite me.
Bite me.
You're on the list of Royal Mail.
Love it.
Yeah.
Steve, what is your spirit animal?
My spirit animal is there's a tiny little ferret that lives in the plains of Africa. No.
And in your pants.
Ooh, nice. That one's even smaller.
Which we just saw,
It's
by
a
the way, at
snail.
the beginning of the show.
No,
As
you
you went to
didn't.
shut the door.
No, you didn't.
We saw your
No, you
spirit
didn't.
animal.
I know you didn't.
Your spirit
There's
animal.
my spirit animal. This is microscopic. I don't know. Let me think about it. My spirit animal.
What would your Patronus be if you were in Harry Potter?
Oh. Something.
What would yours be,
pragmatic.
Jerry?
An owl.
Yeah, what would yours be?
Owl.
You'd be
You'd be an
owl.
owl.
An owl or an owl?
Owl. OWL.
Oh,
Owl.
okay.
What
Is that
makes you
because like
say
delivering
that?
letters?
What makes you say that?
Yeah.
Just like them.
I mean, mine's really obvious.
Giraffe.
If you exactly right, it's quite clearly that's what mine is.
I'd be a unicorn because I like to fart rainbows.
I thought you shat rainbows.
That doesn't seem logical.
Or you just shit glittery turds. I chose.
I just like
I've
unicorns.
chosen an owl because I literally when I go on holiday, my body clock naturally after a few days adjusts to me sleeping all day and being up all night. Literally.
A parliament of
Parliament
owls.
of owls. And I think they're amazing creatures anyway. But it is my spirit animal because I do feel I am a night owl. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, I'm not a night owl, and that was my other answer: is I'm not a night owl and I'm not an early bird. I'm just some kind of permanently exhausted pigeon.
Nice. Nice.
You need to look at your diet, mate. I know you're trying to
I do.
lose weight and put on muscle, but you can get. I've just discovered that I'm not eating enough because I'm trying to lose weight, and you think naturally if I create a calorie deficit, that's going to let me lose weight, and then I just ended up being exhausted all the time. I put a decent amount of if you burning 2,700 calories a day, and you're only putting in 800, then your body's going to go.
Oh, yeah.
Hang about.
So
Actually, right, slight change of subject. Steve, have you heard of an indoor barbecue?
yes,
Exactly. Like you do
It's
an
an electric
indoor
one.
barbecue,
they're electric.
but also you can do an indoor barbecue at home, right? You can have
can.
an indoor barbecue.
Barbecuing is the act of just cooking food on an open grill. That's barbecue.
That's grilling. I'm going to put these chicken wings under the grill.
People think that a barbecue is an event.
It's not quite a barbecue, is it?
It's like cooking over. I wouldn't say an open fire because you don't want to open fire it, but especially not in the kitchen.
I think this is definitely a topic for discussion of the next podcast because I think we need to deep dive this one, Dom, and I think this could potentially take an hour because we're going to have to ring fence an hour for this.
You get electric barbecues that you can use indoors.
But I mean, I had an indoor barbecue where I just, burgers, steaks, made sure that they were very crispy on the inside, crispy on the outside, salmonella on the inside.
So Dom basically got barbecue food, but just cooked it as you would a normal dinner,
Yeah,
which
inside.
is just
Yeah.
a normal dinner. It's
Yeah,
not an
that's not a
indoor
barbecue.
barbecue.
It's not barbecue.
Dom.
Fine.
So
I get where you're going with this, but then at the same time I don't.
you have to come round. You have to come round and see how you do a barbecue. I do good barbecues.
We're absolutely coming around for a barbecue. That's definitely a thing we need to do.
Right.
Yep, both y'all.
Next question. If you could listen in on a conversation between any two people in the world, who would it be and why?
Conversation between any two people in the world.
Where has this come from?
I'm trying to work out.
Dom, do you have an answer for this?
No. Well, yes, but no.
Yes, but
No,
no.
really, I just don't care enough. I
That's
just
pretty
don't
much
care
my
enough.
same. I don't really care. I don't care enough.
I don't really care enough.
No,
listen to what
I'm
other
not talking
people
like
say.
world leaders. No?
No, they're full of shit.
Okay. No?
No, I just don't
Judge
care
people by
enough.
their actions, not what they
Fair
say.
enough. Shall I move on
Yeah.
to the next question then?
We're ruining your
No,
questions
it's
there, aren't we,
absolutely
Jerry?
fine. No, it's absolutely
You
fine.
need better questions.
Okay. Oh. Right. Well, you wait for this next one.
This one,
This one's a
this one.
cracker.
I'm not sure we can discuss this on the podcast, but I actually have an answer to this one, so it's fine.
Oh, I do like
Yeah,
that.
So, Steve, just remember, we're on a podcast. We don't want to bleep out your entire answer to this.
I'm just going to make some time.
Yeah, make some timestamps. Get ready.
You can.
How many times a day do you think about sex?
I mean, probably
I think
once
this
or
is a
twice,
mistake.
but for extended periods.
I think this is misleading because I like.
How many times a day or how many hours? If it's like twice a day, but it could be for 8 hours.
But I think that stereotype is wrong, right? I don't think that like there's like this whole like stereotype that males constantly think about it. It's like if I'm
I
driving in my
think more
car.
about the Roman Empire.
Yeah, exactly, right. How many times do you think about the Roman Empire?
I don't actually ever think of the Roman Empire.
That was
I
the
remember that
viral
quite-
video.
I
But it's like
Gladiators a fair bit.
But it's like it's not like I'm sat in my car, like I'm going. Oh, I'm going to turn left here. I'll look at this idiot that's cut me out. Right, what's he doing? Why are you driving like a Marvin? Boobies, and then great. Now you've cut me up. It's like it's not like that sort of thing. Like I would say, I don't think about it hardly at all.
Okay. So, Steve, I'm taking your
when you
answer
say
of
think about- when
twice
you
a
say
day
think-
for 8 hours per time.
When you say think about it, I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess it doesn't really cross my mind that much. Now, 10 years ago, probably a lot more.
Oakley dokley. Right.
There's such a like. I was like, I'm not sure if we can air this one when I eventually saw this, but I was like, I think we can
I think we
because
hear that. Yeah, why not? Look, I don't know
Not
why. I don't know why.
controversial. I didn't use any
Look,
squares.
and I don't know why everyone gets so coy about it. Anyway, right? Do you prefer to text or message or call? So if you had a choice,
Depends on the situation. So it depends on the situation. I'm happy with both. I dislike texting if there's a if you need to make a call. It's like, so if somebody texts me and says, oh, like the text I sent my wife when I was at the hospital, oh, I'm at the hospital, lol.
lol.
I would probably have enjoyed her phoning me going, what's going on, as opposed to her texting back going, OMG, what's wrong?
lol.
Because then I've got to go. There are some text messages that should be a conversation. Like if someone's struggling, you phone them up and you have a chat, and it becomes a bit easier to sort of have that chat and just listen. Whereas texting, you don't get to listen. You kind of get to, have to respond. And I think that there is a space for listening.
100%. Dom,
Oh,
I wasn't listening. Sorry.
well, did you hear the question?
For fuck's
Really?
sakes.
Were you that in the zone? You zoned out that much?
No. Sorry, I just make myself laugh because that's the type of person that I am.
I think I know Dom's answer.
If you can't make yourself laugh, what's the bloody point? I mean, how else do you communicate with the voices in your head?
It's just I tell myself that I'm funny. Do you know what? I'll be totally honest. It depends on the person because I've got some friends that are completely and utterly shit with texting and messaging, and there is no engagement whatsoever. But
Like Jerry.
Oh, harsh, but
no,
harsh
Jerry's
but
not the
fair.
worst.
Jerry, you can send a text message to, but don't expect an answer back within
I
a
have a
respectable
6-month
time
SLA.
frame, like ever. Yeah, 6 months SLA.
That sounded good. But I also don't like being randomly phoned up.
No, I don't like randomly being phoned up.
An
If a friend of mine
arranged-
phones-
Arranged call is good.
Interesting. Okay.
I kind of like it when a friend just phones. I quite like it because it never happens anymore. In fact, the only person who ever does it is Jerry.
The person does it is Jerry. Yeah.
It's quite nice.
But I don't know whether that's where I've grown up, where it's just like if there's a random phone call, the immediate thing is what's wrong, who's died. That's my default.
Yeah, so that's my daughter. She says that to me. She says, "Don't ever phone me because then I think that someone's died." And I'm like,
Just like, it's
Yeah,
crazy that you can never
whereas-
phone. It's insane.
"Yeah, she's not much of a. She doesn't like talking to people on the phone." She says it makes her anxious.
Okay.
Yeah. Whereas unless somebody's gone, let's catch up at this time on this day. Cool. It's arranged.
Just psych
I'm
yourself
prepared.
up, right?
Yeah. Deep breathing. Paper bag.
Interesting answers, actually, from both of you. I like that.
Well, you can't get
Oh,
away
what,
with not
me?
answering it, right? Because you make me do this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I am getting. I'm finding it increasingly difficult. One, to keep up with all the messages, and two, I'm kind of getting a bit tired of just messaging, because I feel I can have a much richer conversation. I mean, it depends on who it is, but generally, I would take a conversation over messaging any day. Definitely. And regardless, even if it's
think it
something
depends,
light,
yeah.
it doesn't have to be something heavy. It can just be a general sort of how are you? But even that, I would prefer to have a conversation, a chat about it, rather than just sending it via message.
Yeah. I mean, I'm comfortable with spontaneity. So if I have a conversation, it's nice because you can be spontaneous.
And the chats, I think, lead to other things. Whereas, I don't know. I'm just struggling with messaging at the moment. I've got a whole backlog.
I think
of
maybe it's just a
messages.
generation
Yeah,
thing.
it could be. Could be.
But I have to admit, I'm less and less inclined now to message.
But then I find it difficult to pick up the phone and talk to someone. I'm starting to find that a bit more. And if I want to sort of impede, to the extent that I just don't like communicate with anyone.
Nice. You're withdrawing into
You know,
yourself.
which is not nice. Yeah.
I learned a lot. See, it's a question that we learned a lot. That was deep. Right?
We said we weren't going to do deep. We're going to be
that's
funny.
true. Well, yeah, that's true, actually.
It's funny. We had a
I'm-
laugh.
we
chuckle,
did.
chortle.
I'm conscious of time, by the way. So I think I'm
Are
going
Got loads of
to...
time.
You sure?
No.
Yeah, okay.
Got loads of time. We should have a longer
So
podcast.
everyone
Fine.
talks
Whatever.
about red flags when referring to dealing with people, but what are the top 3 green flags you recognise in people?
Oh shit! I didn't see the 3.
Well, it doesn't have to be 3.
Three
It doesn't
green
have to be
flags.
3. But what are the green flags that you recognise?
If somebody is just able to, like, laugh, even if it's just a ha, to that
Sounds
I like
great laugh.
that. I like that. People who just listen, and you can sort of see that they're listening, and there's no, judgment happening behind the eyes. That's quite good. What else? Someone that you cannot talk to for ages, and then whole world of human history will have gone past in that time, and you'll just get back together and talk like nothing happened.
Yeah, I like that.
But also being ability to sit in a room with somebody and in silence and do different things.
Yeah, and I think that that's important. I like talking to people though.
I like those. Okay, Dom. So yours is being in a room and you don't have to. You don't feel compelled.
Yeah, like it confuses my best mate when we got to the stage where, even though we were like, we'd have like conversations the whole day, and then we may be sat in the same room doing two different things. And he was like, "Are you enjoying yourself?" I was like, "Yes." Like, I'm with my best mate. We don't have to be communicating. I am a natural introvert, and sometimes my social battery runs out. Ironic that I host a podcast and
Yeah. How does that work?
never mind. So yeah, that's probably possibly that's when you've really built up trust with somebody. I think the biggest green flag, because I only wrote down one because I didn't read the 3-bit, was how they treat. How to phrase it? How they treat not lesser people, but serving people, right? So how they treat waiters, for example. That's usually the biggest indicator and flag. The ability to have empathy.
Yeah. I like it. I like it. I agree with all those, by the way.
Simples.
I agree with that. There's nothing more infuriating. In fact, no, I shouldn't use this example. Let's just say something happened a few months ago, and I witnessed somebody talk to a waiter. It was the way they handled the situation. It was disgusting, really. And I was like,
It's horrible.
I was this close to stepping in and saying something, but I thought, I don't know this person. I'm just going to have to let it slide. But I really didn't want to let it slide because they felt
But
like
then
they
you
were
just have that judgment on that person.
Honestly, the way they spoke, it's just like they were entitled. I thought, what gives you the right to speak to that person like that? And they were trying to help. They weren't even being rude. They were going out of their way to help, and they still got it both barrels from this person. I was like, what is your problem? Jesus. And
what is your major malfunction?
I better not say anymore because otherwise I'll give away where I was and what. Yeah.
Too much. What's that film from? What is your major malfunction?
That's Full Metal Jacket.
That's
Full
it.
Metal Jacket.
What is your major malfunction,
Private Pile. That's it. Cobra Pile. Right. I love those answers, by the way, gentlemen. I like it.
Have you ever heard of a beige flag?
No. Does that involve sausage rolls and
Sounds
pork pies and stuff?
beige to me.
It's a beige flag. You
Sounds
just
fairly
making this up.
No, this is the thing.
Now
Right?
I want pork pies.
Pork pies are
sausage
good.
roll.
That's a Mowbray pork pies.
With the jelly. Got to have the jelly in
Anyway,
it.
move on.
You've got to have it with pickles. You've got to have the pickles inside it.
Oh. Cheese and pickle pork pie.
Oh, yummy.
Or pork pies with jalapeno chutney.
Oh. Right, stop. I'm hungry.
Based on Jerry's like spiciness, that would be it.
Love it.
I don't
Oh,
like
I've
it
got
for
such a
lunch.
nice jalapeno chutney. Just got a little. Jerry knows it. He's
Yeah.
had it. It's got just a little. Oh. God damn it! So I've got a poignant question. Are you done with?
No,
your-
we're going to learn about beige
We've
flags.
got like 3 more.
No.
No. I've said this should move on.
With the pork pie flags.
Yeah,
The pork pie flags. There's this trend going around, like, what are people's beige flags? And they're things that aren't good or aren't bad. And basically, they just transpire. They're things that make people up, that just make people. So a beige flag could be he's really into Airfix or something like that. And it's like, well, it's not really a red flag. It's not really a green flag. It's just a thing. Oh, we have a visitor.
That's nice. Like that. Look who's on.
Oh, look.
We have another dog. Yay!
This is Leia.
Oh, look at her.
She is the prettiest girl in the whole world.
Oh, she's so sweet. Oh, that was breath right in the face there. Nice.
Right. Oh, beige flags. So my beige flag. Someone's going to be editing quite a lot of this.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, keeping the ferret in anyway.
I think somebody who is open to experiences would be a beige flag for me.
Beige flag.
Beige flag or a green flag? Beige flag.
Yeah, green flag.
I'd say
That's more like a green flag.
I'd say-
That's a green flag. It's a green
and somebody
flag.
who wasn't would be
It's a
more of a
green
red
flag.
flag. I don't think that ever sits in the
Yeah.
beige campus.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
I just don't see the
Anyway.
point of beige flags, Dom, because there's just like too many things that could fit into the beige flag
Yeah, yeah.
category.
Let's
move
move
on,
Right.
I'm just going to say,
How much editing are you going to do on this?
Not a lot.
I'm going
Hang
Just
on,
gonna
I'm
stick
gonna
it
let the dog
together.
out.
to change the wording of this a bit.
Go.
Okay, so if you were to write an autobiography, what would you call it?
If I wrote an autobiography, what would I call it?
I've got such a good title for mine.
Just because it's meaningless to you doesn't mean that it's meaningless to me.
Oh, I like it. By Steve Tompkins.
That's great.
New York Times bestseller. I like it. Okay.
Probably not a bestseller. Probably going to be quite beige.
But yeah, fair enough. Dom?
I'd call it the White House Memoirs, just for the clickbait title and because of my surname.
Very good.
Nice.
There, I see what you did
Nice.
there. I like it. That's
Nice.
full,
Ask ChatGPT
that is,
anything.
yeah. That's full on clickbait. Nice. Right. By the way, fun fact:
like that.
if you publish a book in Norway, the government will buy 1,000 copies and distribute them to top libraries throughout the country. Did you know that? Yep.
Really?
And if it's a children's book,
What's yours called?
my autobiography.
That wasn't like, what would you call it? That's what's yours. What is yours called?
Yeah.
Terry?
So my autobiography would be, "Oh, here we fucking go."
It's a depressing moment.
Here we fucking go.
I like mine best.
Yeah, yours is the best, definitely, and it would get the most clicks, without a doubt. And,
I would write more about my life now because, well, it's pretty much any bit that I can remember.
Yeah. That was my other joke. It'd be like the forgotten.
Yeah.
It'd be the forgotten memories, and it'd just be blank pages.
But I feel like, people say that you will always, as you are now, is the best version of yourself in terms of how you will look. You'll never look this good again because you'll age. But as a person, you would expect to grow and you expect to become better as you go forward. So it's kind of like one scale goes up, the other scale goes down. But yeah, I would, for me, the latter part of my life has been the best part because growing up, I was just a bit of a hooligan. Now I'm a lot more sensible and I like me now than I did then.
nice.
More
I
than
like this.
If you'd met like 20-year-old you, you'd think he's a bit of a dick.
Well, just mark the timestamp because I tell him to stop being such a cunt.
Yeah, that's 2
I'd
hours,
just
4
say
minutes.
I would
55 seconds.
I would genuinely tell myself that I would tell myself that
It's okay to have a ferret in my
Just, yeah.
trousers.
yeah, I mean sometimes it's actually
Yeah,
quite
there you
enjoyable to have a ferret in your trousers.
What's
Ask me how I
happening?
know. Ask me how I know.
Should we move on to the next question?
No, it's
Okay.
yeah.
Right. Have you? This is a serious question, by the way. Have you? Let's go. Those dogs are in now. It's like bleeding bad station around here. Right. Have you ever seen a UFO or a ghost?
I have seen what I thought was a ghost. So we were a couple of my friends and I. We were. This is a weird story. Okay, so I should have remembered this when we had. What's the weirdest thing you ever saw? Right. So you can believe this story or not. It's up to you. But I'm telling you what happened, and you can tell me you can believe it or not. That's entirely up to you. So we were driving home one night, my two friends and I, in the car. We were going from one person's house, and I was dropping them off at home. And this is in the town that I used to live in when I was growing up as a kid. And quite a lot of it was sort of, open type grassland. And there were, wild animals like small deer and things like that, or small little like deer, if you like. They're not deer, but antelopes. They're quite small, about the size of a big dog, really. And we're driving home down the road, and on the left-hand side there were houses, traffic light, street lights, and on the other side was an open field. And we were driving along, and all of a sudden, this, sometimes these antelope would jump in front of the cars and whatnot, but this thing jumped in front of the car. My friend who was sitting next to me heard us hit the thing, and so I stopped the car. Oh, it was a proper hit, right? But the one thing I remember now was seeing its face, and it was kind of like, sort of, not like it's proper. It looked sort of more like there was no meat on the bone kind of thing, but it was, And then we got out of the car and there was nothing. The dew was undisturbed. There was nothing. So we don't know what we hit. We didn't see any signs of any animal that we'd hit, or if you'd hit it and it bounced off and then got up and run away. The side that it landed on, there were street lights. We would have seen it running off, just disappeared. To this day, that is how I remember it, and I have no idea what happened. It could have been innocuous, and it could have run away, and we didn't see it, or jumped over a wall, or whatever. But yeah.
Wow. Okay.
That was what happened.
Interesting.
There's no damage to the car either.
Wow. So that's,
Like
I was going to ask that.
happen.
So, okay. So nothing, there's been no signs of any impact. Wow. Okay.
No.
All right. Interesting. Don?
No.
No. Okay.
It's a simple answer.
Fair enough.
The answer to that question, like we know that when we did this the paranormal activity one, I don't know what it is. It's just something I've never been.
But we talked about ghosts more than
Where we are?
UFOs though. So you've never seen any strange objects in the sky or anything? No.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope.
Wow.
Nope. I'm pretty paranormal activity free.
Wow. Okay.
I've had conversations, obviously, with yourself, and I've had conversations around with other people. Somebody who's convinced that their flat is haunted, and then didn't realise that the Pac-Man enemies were ghosts. They thought they were jellyfish.
Jellyfish.
Which they're not going to be pressed.
They do look like jellyfish.
I'm not naming names. They also didn't know that they have names.
Inky, Blinky, Stinky, and Clyde.
Something like that, yeah.
Inky, Blinky, something T.
Why
and
do
Clyde.
you know this? How
There's
do you
loads
know
of them.
this?
That was a quiz question. That was a
it?
quiz question.
Yeah.
What, in the Winchester?
What are the ghosts' names in Pac-Man?
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
They
way
are.
back at the beginning.
That's
Inky's one, Blinky is one, and Clyde is one. I can't remember what the other something
Blinky, Pinky, Inky, Clyde, Sue, Dinky, Muro, Tim, Yum Yum, Funky, Spunky, Kinky, and Awesome.
So I was referring to the original four ghosts that were
The
in
original
the
four ghosts
Pac-Man.
are Blinky, Pinky, Inky, and Clyde.
Yeah, Blinky, Inky, Pinky, and Clyde.
Sue is Miss Pac-Man. Dinky is Pac-Man from the TV series. Muro is from Pac and Pal. Tim is Junior Pac-Man. Yum Yum is Junior Pac-Man. Funky is Pac-Mania. Spunky is Pac-Mania.
Spunky.
Kinky is Pac-Man.
Kinky.
Arrangement 1996. And Orson is from Pac-Man World.
Alrighty then. Alrighty then.
But yeah, this person was not aware that they were
Alrighty.
ghosts, was not aware that they had names, and they thought they were jellyfish.
Jellyfish. Nice.
But I'm not naming any names. And they're
Fair,
convinced
they
their
do
flat's
look a
haunted.
bit like jelly
They do look like jellyfish, to be fair.
or octopuses.
Well, yeah, all that squid. This is. I'm going to go off on a slight tangent. I'm hoping that the person I spoke to and I'm going to give a shout out to a brilliant shop in York called Travelling Man. So there's a certain person that works there. As we talked about podcasts, you do need to organise that podcast, by the way. on this topic.
Get on it. Message me.
Do it. Just message. Right. Yeah, because I told you the backstory to that, didn't I, Dom? So I'm not going to mention any names or anything, but yeah. Traveling Man, if you're ever in York, go to Traveling Man. It's fantastic. They do graphic novels and a whole stack of board games. It's a brilliant shop. And the person that works there, you know who you are.
I have loads of graphic
There you
novels.
go.
I have loads of graphic novels. I have the classics, like the classics.
Spooderman.
V for
No,
Vendetta.
no, the proper classics. I don't have. V
How
for
can you not have?
Vendetta.
Yeah, you
Got
got
that.
proper.
I've got the Ballad of Halo
Nice.
Jones, which, if you've never read it, is very, very good. I have The Killing Joke, which is one of the big ones.
Isn't that a Batman one, isn't it?
It's The Killing Joke is the Joker origin story.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Well, you need to go to Traveling Man in York.
The one that
That's where you need to go. That's the third time I've mentioned that. I'm not on commission,
a
by the
long
way.
way to go for. It's a long way.
It is a long way to go. It took me 9 hours to get there when I last went.
Jesus.
9
Did you
hours
walk?
of driving.
What
train.
did you do? Walk?
It would have been quicker if I had
Did you get
walked.
trained?
Yeah, I should have.
Did you drive on a
drove
Friday
fr-
night? didn't
No,
you?
I drove actually on a Friday. I left at 9 o'clock on Friday morning, and I
Poor form.
stopped at services for about 15 minutes, and I arrived in York at about 6:20. My average
Poor
speed
form.
was 28 miles an hour.
That's ridiculous.
28 miles an hour
Is it,
along the whole
was it like
200.
crashes or stuff?
No, just weight of traffic. They'd closed off lanes of a motorway, the road works, variable speed limits. It was just the journey was just horrendous,
That's awful.
absolutely horrendous. Anyway, I'm taking the
I
train
just hate
next time.
traveling locally.
No, it's just a joke. You can't.
I don't even like getting the train because
No, I do. You
it's
can't rely
unreliable
on
and
that.
expensive.
I know. Just don't even go there.
We won't get into,
We won't
the,
get
the-
into
the-
that.
the
This is all
room
privatisation
one-
of the
We're
railway
venturing into Room
companies.
101 territory here, so this is.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm ever gonna go to Liverpool, I'm gonna fly via Mallorca
Yeah, that would be quicker.
because it'll cost me like 50
Yeah,
quid.
exactly. Right. Last poignant question. And then we're going to go to a little cheeky little quizaroony. So, Steve, it's no secret you have a man crush on Henry Cavill. Is it Cavill?
Henry
Cavill.
Cavill. I have many
So-
man crushes on many,
Yeah, okay, but we'll
but Henry Cavill's my current
current
man
man crush. So, if you had the opportunity to spend one day with him, what would you do?
Play board games. He loves board
Does
games.
he? Does he really?
He's a
The fact
massive
that you
nerd.
know that.
He's an absolute nerd.
He's an absolute nerd. In fact, he nearly didn't get the role for The Witcher because he was playing PC games.
Oh, wow.
He missed the phone call for the
He missed the
role
phone
of
call.
I thought it was.
No, it was for
I
The
thought it was
Witcher.
Superman.
Was it Superman? Something like that.
I
But
thought
yeah.
he missed a phone call from
We'd probably play Mario Kart.
who's from who is the
Mario Kart. Love it. Love Mario Kart, to be fair.
who's the director of that Superman?
Michael
What's his
Bay.
name? No, Snyder.
Zack Snyder, yeah.
Zack Snyder. He missed a phone call from Zack Snyder because he was playing video games.
Playing video games.
My good
He's
lord.
such
Nearly
a nerd.
missed.
He's
Yeah.
great. He's
He
great.
plays Warhammer.
Does he really?
Yeah, I don't like
What?
Warhammer that much.
Does he
Yeah.
really? Bloody
Yeah,
hell.
paints all the figures. He's a massive,
Do you know,
massive nerd.
another celebrity who you won't realize who is into D&D in a massive way? Vin Diesel.
Vin
Yeah.
Diesel. What the hell?
Yeah.
No.
There's some great video with him with my what's his name? The guy who's Mr. D&D, whom my friend hates. Matt, what's his face? I can't remember his surname.
What, an actor?
Matt Mercer.
Yeah.
No.
Matt Mercer, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a thing with Matt Mercer playing D&D, being a dungeon master with Vin Diesel playing
He's on. Matt Mercer runs Critical Role.
Critical Role, yeah.
No way. Okay. Fine. That's that sorted.
What would
then.
you do with your so then my question is, who is your man crush? Who is your man crush, and what would you do with him? So Dom and Jerry, who are your man crushes,
God, Jesus.
and what would you do with them for a day?
Dom has to go first.
Everyone's got a man crush. I'm telling you.
I don't know. To be honest, like Matt Mercer is someone I really want to meet because I have this like I've said it before when we had Pistola Pete on
Pistola Pete.
that I have like a real kind of like I want to do D&D at some point because even though I don't like role play, I don't like acting or role play. It normally makes me cringe, but I love Critical Role. It's one of my favorite things. So like I like Matt Mercer's, but I don't really know. I don't really have that kind of inkling for stuff. I'm just trying to think now. I'm just trying to think on bits and pieces that I'm really like, oh wow, he's a legend.
Jerry?
Um,
Can't say Keanu Reeves. It's banned because everyone's got a man crush on
yeah,
Keanu
that's
Reeves.
true.
And I'd go to ride motorcycles with him.
Yeah, that's true.
That would be
I
pretty
think it would have to be Justin Theroux, and I think we would just have to listen to old school hip hop. I know he likes old school hip hop, and I grew up with hip hop from the 80s and 90s. So we just chill out, order takeaway, listen to some tunes. I'd also take him around Lymington. I'll take him to Lymington Market. I'd want him to see Lymington Market. Why not? When in Rome.
When
When
in
in Rome.
You remember who Justin Theroux is? Hang on.
He's the cousin of Louis Theroux. He's the actor
I
in.
would have imagined it.
There is a connection, and he is the main actor in The Leftovers. But he's also in Beetlejuice too. Beetlejuice, and
he was in
Mulholland Drive.
I've come up with the answer.
Yeah, go on
by
then.
the way.
Go on, Dom.
I would absolutely love to spend time with Lewis Hamilton,
Oh,
Really?
and I would want him to take me on one of his adventures. So he's recently just gone to Senegal in Africa and just spoken about all his adventures there, and I'm just really curious how he operates, how he managed to maintain the success that he has.
interesting.
So yeah.
He is incredible.
But I'm a big F1
Yeah.
fan, so I'm a complete nutter for it. So
Okay, nice. I like these answers.
Right, the quiz.
So
the quiz.
I've got to keep tabs on the score, but here we go. So,
Oh,
yeah,
Jesus.
the quiz.
I didn't realise we were being
The
tested.
quiz is more or less. Okay, so you have to decide: is it more or is it less? It's as simple as that. Okay. So,
Right.
tell me when you're ready. And by the way, Steve, I can kind of see.
I think I'm ready.
I can see that you're not allowed to look at any screens. So you're not allowed to look anything up.
No, I was just looking at it. I was looking at Justin Theroux and seeing whether he was in.
Okay.
Right.
So I'm going to do 10 questions.
Hmm.
And we'll see who's the winner.
Do we have to like press a button?
No. All you have to do is
There's no button.
no. There's no buzzing.
Like we don't need a safe word.
We definitely don't need a safe word. It's not that kind of game.
Oh.
Pork mince.
Pork mince. Yeah,
Pork-
pork mince.
No, when you did yours with pork mince, I thought one of you is going to say, because I remember, was it Hoops was saying, okay, you need a word. I mean, for me, it would just be natural. Bird.
It is the
Because
word.
everybody knows that.
That is the
bird
word.
is
It
the
is.
word.
Busyness.
Busyness.
Pork mince.
Right, gentlemen, are you ready?
Okay, mine's bird. Anyway, yeah.
Have sharks? So, question number 1: have sharks existed?
Who's this for?
Both of you.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
But
So
we
what
don't
happens
have
if
to
we say
buzz
the
in.
same answer the whole way through? It's a draw.
Possibly.
a tiebreaker
there will
question?
be. Have sharks existed for more or less time than trees?
Than
Than
trees.
trees.
More.
Less.
Okay. So sharks are at least 400 million years old, and trees are around 350 million years old.
Yeah.
So they've existed for longer. Sharks have existed for longer.
When you say at least, so they could be older, which means that trees could predate sharks.
What? No. No.
No.
Sharks have been around.
When you say something is at least, if you say something is at least 400 million
I know
years
his point.
old,
I get
it
his
could
point.
also be older than 400 million years because it's at least that. But it could be
Next
older.
question. Right. Next question. No,
Sorry,
it's fine.
Did I take the to an IQ level that was too high?
Is the diameter of the moon more or less than the width of Australia?
Oh shit.
The diameter of the moon is
Less than Australia.
diameter of the moon is the width of Australia, mainland Australia. Yeah,
yeah.
I would say that Australia, the width of Australia is probably bigger than the diameter of the
And
moon.
Dom, you're saying less.
Yeah. So we're
I
both
would
less.
have thought.
We're both the same. We're both saying that the moon is less than Australia.
The moon
Yeah.
is less than Australia. Yeah. So you're right. You're both right. The moon has a diameter of 2,100 miles and the width of Australia is 2,485 miles. So you are both correct.
A lot of
That
miles.
is a lot of miles. So let me just. Okay.
I kind of got there because where they think the moon came from on the Earth, which is now the Gulf of Mexico, you could not necessarily fit Australia into the Gulf of Mexico. I don't think. Don't know.
Okay.
But that's how I got there.
Here we go. Next question. Question number 3. Does the UK lose more or less than 1 billion litres of water every year due to leaky pipes?
More.
Say again.
Does the UK lose more or less than 1 billion litres of water every year due to leaky pipes?
That's a lot
I
of
would
litres. I
say-
think that's less.
I think it would be more,
Okay.
and then because I mean, how much sewage do they pump into the sea? That's water based.
So the answer is more. The UK loses around
Oh, wow.
3.1 billion litres of water every day.
Even Stevens.
So the question was, does the UK lose more or less than 1 billion litres of water every year due to leaky pipes? The answer is the UK loses around
It's one of the
3.1 billion litres of water
300.
every day. Every single
So
day.
yeah,
Fuck no.
900 billion liters
So-
of water, nearly 1 trillion liters of water.
Right. So, does it take more or less than 200,000 steps to get to the top of Mount Everest?
Less than or more than 2,000.
200,000.
steps.
200,000.
Oh, 200,000.
From base camp 1
Oh, for God's sake.
or from my front
don't
door.
Yeah, from your front door, Steve. Yeah, from your front door. Because all. Yes.
I'm going to say less.
Yeah, I'm inclined to say less too.
You
200,000 steps.
It's a lot.
Actually, no, hang on. No, I'm going to go with more because 200,000 steps is, it's about, I'm
You're
gonna go
going
with
for more. And Dom, you're going for less.
Less.
It's actually less. It takes around 58,000 steps to get to the top. The summit of Everest is around 22
shuffle.
miles from base camp.
I shuffle.
um,
Take me more.
right.
And I have to stop a few times.
Yeah. Ooh, here we go. There's so many I could choose from. Well, this is an interesting one. Does it take more or less water to produce tea than coffee? This is question number 5.
Oh,
It takes more water to produce coffee, and I know this because there is massive water wastage in the production of coffee.
I'll go for more then as well.
Coffee production is incredibly water intensive because they've got to break open the outer pod, and then you're left with the seed, and then they've got to wash that, and there's a bunch of things that they do to it before they can prepare it for roasting, and then once it's roasted, then the beans.
So you're both right, because it is estimated that a standard cup of coffee is 125 ml, requires 140 litres of water to produce, considering all the steps from
Yeah.
growing the coffee plant to brewing the drink. On the other hand, a standard cup of tea, 250 ml, requires around 27 litres of water.
Yep.
There you go. So
Cool.
you're both correct.
Woohoo.
Right.
Do I get extra points for knowing why?
It depends.
Because I'm
It
ahead.
depends.
No, because I'm ahead. No, don't cheat me out.
No, I'm not. I'm not going to do hoops. Right. Here we go.
Get the curse of Hooper
Yeah.
here.
So, does Spain, this is question number 6, does Spain produce more or less than 80% of Europe's bananas?
Does Spain produce bananas? I don't think they produce bananas. I'm going to go with less.
Dom?
I'm also going to go with less, I think.
Okay, you're both correct, but this will interest you. Spain produces 60% of bananas in Europe, with the Canary Islands being ideally located for growing fruit.
Oh, of course, the Canary Islands. I keep forgetting they've got a bunch of islands.
Yeah.
Islands.
Yep, so you're both correct on that. Actually, yeah, okay, I'll do scores at the end. Right. Oh no, if I ask this one, you'll know the answer, Steve. That would be unfair.
Ask it
No,
anyway.
Yeah, but I'm a
Well,
point
yeah.
ahead, so I just copy his
yeah.
Ask it
answer.
anyway, but don't ask it anyway, but don't give me points. Don't give points for it.
Okay. Did Shakespeare invent more or less than 10,000 words?
Did he invent words?
He did invent words. A lot.
More or less than 10,000? This isn't
I'm
the question
just-
I would automatically know the answer to.
I'm just going to
Clearly.
go more, just for the...
Say
shits and
less.
giggles.
Okay, Dom, I'm sorry. You're wrong. Steve, you're right.
Fine.
Shakespeare invented around 1,700 words, including moonbeam, laughable, eyeball, bump, puking, champion, bedroom, excitement,
How many did
and
you say?
zany. 1,700.
Are you going to go through all? Are you going to go through all one?
Yes,
3,000?
yes, I am. We're going to be here a while. Even though I have to take the giant douche
Sit down for this.
and the turd sandwich for
Just
a walk.
just make a mark now and chop that bit out. Where is the is the giant douche with you now?
No. I've got to go and get the.
Have you got to go fetch
I've
him?
got to fetch him. Right. Here we go. Was the fastest subsonic flight time from New York to London more or less than 5 hours?
The fastest subsonic flight time from New York to London.
Subsonic.
Less.
The fastest subsonic flight. Well, it's subsonic. Even if it's assumed it's 0.99 Mach, that is still more than 5 hours.
Yeah, more.
I
So you're
think.
both saying more. Okay. It's actually less. So it was 4 hours. Yeah.
Is it?
So 4 hours and 56 minutes. It was set by a British Airways flight in 2020 due to abnormally high winds in the jet stream.
But he must have travelled more than...
What?
I don't know.
I mean, it wouldn't be subsonic in the jet stream. So even if the plane is moving across the ground faster than the speed of sound, because it's in a pocket of air that is moving fast, it won't be transonic. It won't have to go through the sonic,
Boom.
threshold, because the air is moving.
This is all very, very
Yay.
interesting.
You can be supersonic across the ground without being supersonic in
This
the
is-
air.
All fascinating stuff, but you're both wrong. Right.
What number are we up to, Jerry?
No, I wasn't wrong about that.
You're wrong in your answer, though.
Whoa.
You're wrong in your answer. So, we're on question 9
Yeah,
now.
all right.
We're on question 9. Do cow farts make up more or less than 15% of global methane pollution?
Cow farts don't make up nearly as much of the global methane problem that people think that they do. I'm going to go with less.
I'm going to go with more, just to be different.
It's just doing different. Okay. Steve, I hate to say this, but you're wrong. And Dom,
It's something like...
You're
it's probably
right.
something stupid, like 16%.
no, you'll be shocked at this. You'll be shocked. Cow farts account for around 35%, more than a third of global methane pollution?
Yeah, but it's methane pollution, that not like CO2
not
pollution
CO2,
and stuff
but
like
it's
that.
just-
So.
But the question
Well, surely
the
that would
question
mean-
was global
surely that
methane
would mean that
pollution.
cows. Surely cows are then just naturally explosive.
They can be. They can be.
So
You
if
have
you
to
stand
call
behind
one
a cow
up.
with a cigarette lighter permanently on, do you stand the risk of exploding?
Okay.
That's like
I've actually got a tiebreaker question here, which I'm going to save in case
Do we
it
need one?
might do. So, when glass breaks, do the cracks move at more or less than 1,000 miles an hour?
Glass. No, it does depend on the glass. Higher quality glass cracks at a different speed to lower quality glass. 1,000 miles an hour is supersonic. Less.
I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go
You're
less.
going to go
as well.
less as well. Okay, you're both wrong.
Yeah.
Cracks move at
Ah, fine.
3,000 miles an hour. 3,000 miles an hour. These are all, I don't know how you'd ever. Right, so let's total these up. So we've got
How do you measure that?
5, not with a ruler. 6. So, Dom, you are the winner. You got six.
what a
You won
thing.
something. You got 6 correct. Steve, you got 5 correct. Well done. Well
Yay!
done. There you go. And the tiebreaker question.
I got some correct.
Tiebreaker question was:
What
does
was
a
the
blue
tiebreaker
whale
question?
weigh more or less than 200 giraffes?
It depends how big the giraffes are.
Adult giraffes?
Adult giraffes.
This definitely feels like the last question
Male-
from a Monty
male
Python and the
or
Holy
fe-
Grail.
Male
A
or
laden or an
female?
unladen swallow?
Male or female?
I don't care.
Is the
Just
female
adult.
pregnant?
A blue whale weighs a staggering 190 tons, which is around the same weight as 158 giraffes. It's actually less.
So it would be more than 20.
Yeah, it weighs more than 200 giraffes. No, less than 200 giraffes. I'll get me
Do you know
Less
case.
than
that
200 giraffes.
the literal translation for the Afrikaans word for giraffe is camel horse.
Nice. So, are you going to say it? Are you going to tell us how it's
Kameelpaard.
nice? There you go. So we've even learnt a language today. Right.
You learned a
Well,
word in a
there we
language
go.
that not
You
many
learned a
people
word.
use today.
Okay. But every long journey starts with a small step, as they say.
It does. At my
Yeah.
front
Step
door.
for sm-
On the way to Everest.
Which is less than 200,000 steps. So,
Oh my
gentlemen,
god.
thank you so
Not from the
much.
front door.
Appreciate. Thank you for putting up with
So
my...
I get to ask a
go
point.
on
I'm
then.
going to ask. I get to ask a poignant question that you can add in or take out later if
Okay.
you wish. So my poignant question: you've gone to the top of the highest mountain in the world to see the wisest person in the world to answer one single question.
Oh, Jesus.
What question are you going to ask? He'll give you the truthful answer to that question, whatever it is.
What's wrong with me?
You'll be
Jesus, how
there
long
for a
do you plan
while.
to stay on top of that mountain?
Exactly. That's a great
I
question.
hope you've taken loads of supplies.
You can go to a doctor and get the answer to that.
What's wrong with me, and how do I fix it?
Well, I'll
two
be with
questions.
you, Dom. That would be my question, and we could just we'll have look between us. We can take loads of supplies. We could be there for a while. I don't know. My God, I don't know. What would you ask, Steve?
How do I break the fourth wall in life?
Like this.
What would you ask?
What would I ask? I'd probably ask something along the lines of, I forgot to ask one question that I would want to know the answer of. Is there something after this?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that is a very good question.
But then I don't know if I want to know the answer.
See, that's a really interesting. The reason why I said about how do I like myself, like because the question sometimes people go is, would you want to live longer or would you want more money? And
I would want more money.
I would want more money. I would want to just enjoy the time that I have now rather than worry about extending.
I
the time
agree.
that
I
have
agree
now.
with that because I'm kind of like tired, just generally, of life.
Yeah,
and
I'm just
everything.
generally quite a bit
Yeah, so
exhausted.
just give me the money.
But if you weren't, I know. I'd kind of want. For me, money's not like the be all and
No,
end
it
all.
isn't. But
Because
I'd rather cry in a Mercedes than on a pedal bike, to be totally honest.
and you're the one who wants to go cycling for the Olympics.
Yeah, why not?
You will be crying on that bicycle every day.
Oh, yeah,
it'd be a
absolutely.
carbon fiber Mercedes bike. No, that's a very good question. Actually, I'm with you, Steve. I don't know if I'd want to know the answer, but I think it'd be worth asking. It'd have to be that, or are we
I think
alone
that
in the
any question-
universe? That'd be another good one to ask.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing you could ask is, then you've climbed to the top of this mountain, which is the highest mountain in the world. I mean, you could always just, ask where you can get the best pork
Yeah.
pie.
Or how many steps do you reckon that was?
I mean, how many
less
steps are
than
there
200,000?
on the route? How many steps have I done to get here? Is it more or less?
Not
than
that that's a
Everest?
wasted question at all in any shape or form. No, I
No.
like it. That's a.
But then everything's subjective. I mean, their version of the best pork pie might not be.
It's got to
my
have
version of
jelly
the
in
best
it.
pork
You've
pie.
got to have the jelly.
It's got to have.
So that's the
pickle
problem,
in it.
because that's an opinion-based thing.
Yeah.
Got to have jelly. Right.
Anyway,
Anyway.
there you
So, seeing as I'm presenting, I can ask this question. Woohoo! Yay!
Yay!
Final thoughts. Dom, I'm going to start with you.
Oh, bastard. Final thoughts are. I don't know if we achieved doing the less serious and the more jovial thing. But it'll be interesting to get other people's feedback. Shout out to somebody who I messaged this morning who sent the lovely message last time Steve was on. You're doing great, and we love you. And just to Swanee, I lost the game. So those are my collection of final thoughts. Over you too, Steve.
Stevie T.
So yeah, my final thoughts. I am wondering if you had me on just to get your ratings up again.
Yes. Yes, that is the case. That is the case.
My final thoughts. Things are never as bad as you think they are, unless you are literally in a room that's filling up with water, in which case there might be.
Dark.
Yeah,
Okay.
just be kind to yourselves.
And one another.
And you could use the analogy on that one. Just keep swimming.
Yeah, exactly.
Just keep swimming.
Nice.
Just keep swimming.
Well,
Yeah.
me? Oh, I've got to do it.
You make me do it on every
that's
podcast
true.
when I ask
That's
you.
true.
And I hope I don't ruin people's lives like I did last time.
Final thoughts for me are, I don't know. My brain is frazzled. I've been presenting this. There's nothing left in the tank.
I'm going to make you present more.
Thank you. I think
I'm presenting the next one.
you have to keep smiling. I think that's the key thing. Whatever happens, you have to keep smiling. We can't stop you from smiling and laughing, and that's what you have to keep
Use
doing.
hysterical laughter as a defense mechanism.
Exactly. Gentlemen, thank you very much indeed. I don't know what you thought. Hopefully you enjoyed it, Steve.
Yeah.
Don, was that all right?
I did
don't
enjoy
know.
it. I really enjoyed
good.
it.
Because
For me, it was different this time because last time I felt, like I was on. Now I'm feeling like, I just dialed in to have a chat with my mates. That was kind of what it was
exactly.
about. And
That's what the whole podcast is
It
about.
felt different and it felt very nice,
did it feel pretty good?
on the whole.
Excellent. I think we've got a lot of humour in this
like-
one, which is good.
Yeah, like chocolate ice cream.
Bleep that 2 minutes 41 and 8 seconds.
Chocolate ice cream. Chocolate ice
Right.
cream. Feels
It's almost
good
as
on
good
the
as
whole.
your salty chocolate balls.
Oh,
there,
don't even
Jerry,
go
isn't
there.
it?
Honestly, that's
chocolate
probably one of the
balls.
worst.
Salted chocolate. What is it with makes salted chocolate so good? Oh my
Salted caramel.
god.
Salted caramel is
Salted
also
chocolate
very good.
pretzels.
Yeah.
Oh, salted
Salted
chocolate pretzels.
pretzels.
Oh my lord.
Right.
Oh, they are worthy.
On that note,
I'm going to go and barbecue some piggy
go
now.
for it. Have fun. Enjoy. Thank you, everybody. That
Love you
wraps up.
both. Thank you so much
Oh,
for
it's a
inviting
pleasure.
me. I do
Always a
appreciate
pleasure.
it more than
Always
you
a
know.
pleasure.
And we'll speak soon. We'll probably speak tomorrow at work.
Yeah, probably.
Woohoo!
Nice. Yeah, I'll catch you then. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for listening.
Take it easy, guys.
All the best.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.